Live.
Okay. Hey, happy Earth Day, Wendy.
Happy Earth Day, Jane. Woohoo!
This is so cool. We have such a gorgeous day today. Are we the luckiest people in the world? I'm telling you, this is great.
We are. It's gorgeous out. It's got a little nip in the air, but it's beautiful sunny day
It's
and
spring. It's definitely spring.
it is, but not for our northern friends. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, their spring's a little different than ours. Theirs includes snow. So, Wendy, you set this event all up for us, this whole Earth Day thing, registered it with earthday.org and all that?
Yeah, actually, if you go to earthday.org, New
Uh-huh.
Bern is on the map.
Oh, that's
So,
hot. And it
yeah,
says this year's theme is Restore Our Earth, which focuses on natural processes, emerging green technologies, and innovative thinking that can restore the world's ecosystems. In this way, the theme rejects the notion that mitigation or adaptation are the only ways to address climate change. It's up to each and every one of us to restore our earth, not just because we care about the natural world, but because we live on it. We all need a healthy earth to support our jobs, livelihoods, health, and survival and happiness. A healthy planet is not an option, it's a necessity.
yes. And on that note, I just wanted to say today we're not here to lecture anyone. We're not here to say the sky is falling. We just want to learn from our awesome lineup of speakers. Wow, we are so fortunate that everyone agreed to talk today about their organizations, that they make a difference every day in our lives and we may not even know it. And
Absolutely.
so hopefully we'll learn, and make little changes throughout, our lives and better
Improve our environment.
better our planet. Here we
There you
go.
go. Nice. I love that. I love that. And who did that artwork for you?
That was created by in 2019 when we did the first Earth Day, when it was like 30 days before the event, and I asked people to come out, and I would have been just happy if 10 people came, and there was over 200 people. And
Oh
then
my goodness.
last year it was the day before, no, 3 days before Earth Day. I got the Ethernet connected so we could have a full live stream. And I called you the day before and I asked you to moderate a 2-hour show. And you said yes. And I'm like, gosh, today is, and you did again today, but I think I asked you last week. I'm
It's
last
okay.
last minute, Wendy, but I mean,
It's
we're
hard to
getting
say no
there.
to you, Wendy, because you do so much for our community. It's fantastic. How about if I tell you the lineup that we've got coming up today? This is fantastic that you've set up all these people, Wendy. So our first speaker is Dr. Tom Glasgow, Director of the NC State Cooperative Extension Service here in Craven County. He is such a cool guy with great information. Michael Schachter, President, North Carolina Nature Coalition. Don and Carol Ostler of the Sierra Club, the Croatan Group. Chris Davis, he's the owner of Seed to Shaker, and he just called in and said he can't make it, but Wendy's got some great things to tell you about him. And then Rachel Bissessy, I'm saying that wrong. Correct me, please, Wendy.
I think it's Bissessy, but I'm not
Bissessy,
positive. We'll find out
Rachel
when she
Bissessy.
joins us.
That's
Yeah.
right. But she'll be here at 1 o'clock, and she's from the North Carolina Coastal Federation. And then we've got Ann Meadows, the co-chair, North Carolina Native Plant Society, which is wicked cool, Central Coastal Plain Chapter, and Barbara Smith, Craven Master Gardener. We've got Bobbi Waters, Solid Waste Planner, Outreach Coordinator for Coastal Environment Partnership. Derek Haynes, the crazy botanist. Ann Weston, founder of the Green Burial Project. And Carol Ostler is hopefully attending. Katy Langley Hunt, Lower Neuse River Keeper and Sound Rivers Incorporated. And Dr. John Hatcher, Executive Director, North Carolina Forestry Association. That's quite a lineup of people that we have for resources here in our community. This is fantastic.
Yeah, and we have people from the state, so that's pretty cool. I mean, he's the last speaker, but he's with the actual North Carolina Forestry Association for the whole state. So that's pretty
That's great.
cool. Yeah.
So who's our first guest?
Okay, let's see. There he is, Dr. Glasgow. Let's see, let's bring him in.
Super. This is great. You can learn so much from the Cooperative Extension Service. They offer such great information. Hey there, Dr. Tom.
Hello.
It's been a while. How are you, sir?
No complaints. Hope you all are doing well.
Thank you
We
for
are.
joining us today. It's great seeing you. Last year it was on the phone, so it's good to see you semi in person. So
Oh, we appreciate that. We're happy anytime somebody's glad to see us.
That's super. So tell us something great about Earth Day and how we can be better and how you can help us be better.
Well, I don't want to be too braggadocio about it, but let's make some suggestions here, things that we're working on. In some cases, working with other agencies, important things having to do with the health of our forests, our waterways, and so forth. And one of the biggest issues that I would place in the environmental category in recent years has been the continual encroachment of non-native invasive plants. That's something that I'm involved in quite a bit in terms of educational outreach. I even do some volunteer time for the Coastal Land Trust working on invasive wisterias on one of their sites. So this is something I see a lot of. And I oftentimes interact with the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services because they have the folks who are actually legally and mandated and so forth to respond to and remediate an invasive plant, in particular if it's an invasive plant that is still not widely established. In other words, there's an intervention taking place to stop it from becoming established. That was the case with some purple loosestrife a couple of years ago in Carteret County. Somebody was visiting New Jersey. They went to a garden center. They bought something with beautiful flowers, but the garden center staff did not know what that plant was. And the person didn't know either, and it ended up being planted in a Carteret County landscape. And luckily, word of that got to us, and we thought, that looks like purple loosestrife. And we contacted David Pierce with the Department of Agriculture, and the plant was removed. And that may have stopped a massive new establishment of purple loosestrife in those waters, and or in wet areas around where that plant was. And the importance of that is these native species, whether they're terrestrial or aquatic, can completely disrupt a piece of land or a body of water. Parrot feather is another one that we see in the area. And if it's not controlled, it can completely cover a body of water, crowding out everything else, destroying the complexity of what we sometimes refer to the web of life, all the different relationships that are in play between animals, fish, vegetation, the insects, and everything. So this is a continual battle in which we're keeping our eyes open, and when possible, we're trying to remediate the site. Just the other day, I happened to come across a Paulownia tree, which on the NC Native Plant Society's website is one of those rank 1 severe threats to the environment. A princess tree in the past was promoted. And by the way, this is Paulownia tomentosa. It was promoted in the past, and I've got an old nursery advertisement here, a rapid growth timber tree. And there was supposed to be all this demand for the wood in China and Japan, and a whole bunch of people planted this tree. And it turned out years later to be a severe problem, mostly in the Piedmont and mountains. But driving down Highway 70 the other day, I spotted one in full flower with the lavender flowers. And that was in Craven County. And something needs to happen to that tree. I'm not sure the mechanism involved, but a tree like that getting established just can completely explode its population all over the place. So that's one of the really big things we're looking at. We also want to talk to folks about lots and lots of tree cover. And by the way, it turns out that where you're able to grow big trees contribute disproportionate benefits as compared to smaller trees. In other words, it's not a straight line. You get a little bigger, you get a little more benefits, but it's like an order of magnitude. I have an information note from U.S. Forest Service. This is several years ago, so the numbers aren't necessarily at precise levels, but the ratio, small tree, all the benefits, and they talk about cleaning the air, stormwater runoff control, on and on, storing carbon. At that time, small tree value to community was $270. The large tree value to community, single tree, was $4,400. So
Wow.
in terms of contributions to people in the environment and as being a place for wildlife, sustaining wildlife, the big trees are more than just, well, they're bigger. And again, it's not a linear relationship from small to big. Where we can preserve the really big trees, they are extraordinary resources for us. And that means we ought to be more careful in the expansion of our new communities and take the steps that are needed to actually preserve big trees where they are. And also, given the choice where we have the space, we need to try to plant bigger, growing, maturing trees. And one thing I would challenge people—
a maple instead of a dogwood. So plant a maple that would be bigger, or an oak instead of a dogwood.
Yes. Sometimes we make selections based on the fact that it has beautiful flowers for 2 weeks of the year. I think it is better to look at the total sum of benefits year round. And I know I'm already pushing up on time, and I'll leave it open for questions.
No, you're good. You're good.
One last point I'd make, if you go around any community, whether it's New Bern, Morehead City, Raleigh, any place of any size, you're going to see countless examples where a big tree could have been accommodated because there's no power line overhead. There are no restrictions in space to the sides or in terms of root growth. And instead of that big tree, we've got a dogwood or a red bud or a crepe myrtle. Likewise, you will see endless places where there is no space for a big tree, and a big oak has been crammed in there, and it's sprawling out over the curb and so forth, and it cannot develop normally, and it becomes a hazard. So in our planning and planting of trees, we really need to exploit those spaces where a big tree could go and take advantage of those opportunities. There are lots of little nooks and crannies that we're missing opportunity completely.
Super. That's great. So, Dr. Tom, if people want to reach out and learn more about the right things to plant and where to find those and get help from the extension office, where do they go and what do they do?
I think the easiest way to get in touch with us really is just the basic website. If you do a web search for Craven County Extension or Carteret County Extension, you're going to get that main office page, and all the staff contacts are there. Lots of, you'll see a lot of articles posted, meetings coming up, but most of all, if you've got specific questions, you can email the right staff person and get the conversation going. And we'd
Super.
like, when folks have a question about insect ID or leaf spot or just plant ID, things like that, we really like getting good images. I would discourage bringing in your phone and saying, can you identify this on my phone? That doesn't work very well. And I still don't want to be that close to people during COVID. But the main point is it's not adequate in terms of what we're looking at. A good picture that is emailed to us can be then emailed to other people, specialists on campus, if we're not sure. The other thing we like to see is actual samples of foliage, stems, twigs, things like that. A lot of folks bring in samples, drop them off for us. And again, if we don't know what it is, we have specialists on campus who will back us up.
Great. Well, thank you.
Yeah, and I have a couple questions. Does the audience, if you're watching this, do you all have any questions for Dr. Tom? Do you prefer Tom, Dr. Tom, or Dr. Tom Glasgow? Or any of the above?
Tom actually is fine.
All right.
Dr. Tom is a nickname, but I don't insist. That
Everyone I know, they say Dr. Tom, and everyone knows who that is. So,
okay.
You know, I spend a lot of time in the Croatan, and you know, that's when I first noticed down here, like coming from New York, I saw a lot of wisteria, but down here, it was just everywhere. And this is probably over 10 years ago, and now it just seems like it's more than everywhere. How is that? Is there a way to control that, or?
It's extremely time consuming. There are a variety of ways of doing it. Usually a combination of mechanical control and herbicidal control is going to be needed. And also the issue of time. Folks need to be patient when you go into an area that's been overrun with 2 or 3 different weeds. This is, first of all, a big investment of time on the front end, but now you've got to watch that site in years ahead to stop the weed from marching back. These weeds that we're dealing with, everything from honeysuckle to Japanese stilt grass to various, the wisterias, they're here and we'll never get rid of them. The battle is to suppress and limit the damage. And that gets to another point. And this is a kind of point that could just blow up in a big free-for-all argument. But if we believe in science, if we're going to put science first, we need to be a little bit more, I would say, balanced in our views about the use of herbicides. As I've had to argue with folks on occasion, the careful use, professional use of EPA-approved aquatic herbicides on a site is much less of a threat to the environment than allowing parrot feather or alligator weed to run rampant and totally destroy that site. We need to be careful about dismissing entire sets of tools and technologies for reasons that may not be totally grounded in science.
Yeah, science is important.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go there anyway. And I do have another question. I'm not sure. Maybe I should hold off because the NC Forestry Association is going to be joining us later. But firewood. I know on your website you have a lot of so many articles that you spend so much time, writing, researching before you publish. There's different articles that have really caught my eye when I randomly get on your website. Like, was it bagworm? Was that a thing where you asked people to get it before it took off? Was that the word of it? I know it was some kind of worm in a bag.
Yes, the bagworm and I cannot remember the scientific name of it right now, but the one that has a little pine cone-like structure almost
Yeah.
hangs down. We really encourage folks to clip those off and remove them as much by hand as possible, because the female sacs can have up to 500, even 1,000 eggs.
Wow.
And they tend to stay at home. They tend to stay right there in that landscape. So sanitation can make a very, very big difference. We would also discourage people, as part of what we call the IPM, or integrated pest management approach. Let's reduce the planting of plants that are so prone to bagworm infestation.
Yeah.
An entire row of 50 to 60 Leyland cypress for a privacy screen is inviting trouble. And somebody is going to be put in the position of either having to choose between insecticide sprays or handpicking a bunch of these sacs. Plant diversity is one of our greatest tools in managing downwards insect and disease damage. So let's get away from the monoculture plantings. I talk with a lot of folks about mixing up your screens. An entire wall of arborvitae or an entire wall of Leyland cypress is asking for trouble, and trouble's going to come along sooner or later. So mix up those plantings.
We don't want any trouble. And
No.
now, what about the those bundles of firewood that you see, gas stations? Say you're up in Pennsylvania and you're like, oh, I left it in my vehicle, and I'll just use it down here. Why do they recommend not to use that?
You're potentially transporting quarantined insects over great distances in one shot. The emerald ash borer was the prime example over the past 15 or 20 years. And movement of the emerald ash borer was thought to be primarily by the movement of firewood. In the early days, when it was kind of limited to Michigan and the adjoining states, and they were on a real campaign up there to try to stop the long distance movement of firewood. So obtain your firewood locally. I think if I accidentally brought wood back from the Northeast, I think that would be a phone call to the NCDA and ask them what you should do with it.
There we go.
Yeah,
Right.
but
I
I
knew
would not.
you would have the answer for that.
Let me mention one other thing that just happened here in this part of the state. The spotted lanternfly is something that is very much of concern right now as an invasive pest, not known to be in North Carolina right now, but a Christmas tree lot in the southeastern part of the state purchased Christmas trees from a spotted lanternfly quarantined county in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Those trees were not supposed to leave there and come all the way to North Carolina, but they did. The Department of Agriculture had to get involved in that, and there was remediation taken. Those are the sorts of things that bring on action in which the plant material is just going to have to be destroyed. Otherwise, you could have in one leap all the way from Pennsylvania into North Carolina. Now you've got the thing established.
Wow, and they're the types of what you're talking about today are the types of things that you're probably, or you're most likely to see on the North NC State. You're part of NC State University, and
Right.
you work for the county.
Yes.
Also, or you partner with county. Anyway, all those resources are on your website, and it's a wealth of information, and I can't thank you enough. And yeah, so is there anything else? Let's see, we have a couple, comments. Do you have suggestions on what to plant that deer don't like? That's from our friend Kathy Morrison, who will be our moderator from the 2 to 3 o'clock hour. So
yeah, I would encourage anybody to contact us. There are certain basic things like salvias and anything that has a pungent type of fragrance or taste to the foliage, the deer tend to avoid. But to keep that topic short, contact us, because we do have some ideas to pass along. And there are a great number of things you can plant that the deer are going to tend to avoid and ignore. And the
Does
flip
that-
side of that is you can plant a landscape and everything in that landscape the deer love, and that's going to be a problem. So be careful what you plant and get in touch with us. We can give you
Becomes
some
a feeding
ideas.
station.
It does, yeah.
Now, does that same thought process go with like bunny rabbits and, you know, cats, or is that totally different? Just contact you?
Rabbits, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Should people just contact you, or do you have any suggestions for listeners?
The rabbits are a tricky subject. First of all, I don't think we're seeing near as much, so we tend to focus on the deer. That's difficult. The things that deer avoid are not necessarily the things the rabbits avoid. So you get one problem fixed, you may not have the other. But I
Right.
think I would encourage people to start with the deer issue, go from there. If you know you're seeing some rabbit damage, then there are some specific things that can be done there. With cats, you know, the owner needs to keep that cat off your property. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Well, we've
Right.
got so many feral cats these days. I think that's the actual problem, the source of the problem. And well, we can't thank you enough for, let's see, any more questions? Oh. Do you have suggestions on, oh. No, the question came by twice and she said, thank you. So what else? Is that
Well,
it?
great. You're a great
Yeah.
resource, and it's so impressive the information that you can find on the website and how responsive your group is. So we really appreciate everything you're doing for us, and I hope more people start reaching out to you to work on that deer problem and make sure the plants they've got are native and the right ones to have in their yard.
Yeah, thanks so much. You did a real favor to us, having us included today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. And I would
Yeah,
love to sit down with you over the Zoom and write down all the crazy questions you get every day, because I'm sure you get a lot. That would be a fun book to write. So,
Great.
thank
Thanks
you,
so much.
Tom. You have a great
Thanks, Tom.
day.
Take care.
Yay. Awesome. Thank you.
Happy Earth Day.
Yeah.
That's great.
And he's, yeah, I'm a big admirer. Okay, so
Yeah. All right. Next up,
that was
we've got.
great.
Yeah, that was super, because the extension service really has a pile of information for you. They're really very helpful people, and they've got just a great resource to use for anything you need to know about your landscaping, gardening. Even if you're using a pot to garden, they can help you with that too.
Yeah.
So up next, we've got Michael Schlechter, president. I hope I said that right, Michael. If I didn't, please correct me. President of the Carolina Nature Coalition. So Michael, I think, is in our waiting room.
Yes, I'll bring him in. And just one question came out. Can you share his website link? Cynthia, we will share his website link. It is NC Cooperative Extension, Craven County. And we'll share it after the show because we've got a long lineup, and I'm not technically savvy, so I'll get to it after the show, but thank you for commenting. And we have Michael. Okay.
All right. Michael's here somewhere. It's like magic, isn't it?
Boy, we've come a long way since last year. Holy moly.
Michael, if you can unmute, that would be great. And then we'll be able to hear you and hopefully get your camera on, and then we can see you.
You there, Michael?
There he is. He's getting his camera ready.
There
There we go.
you
There we
are.
go. Okay.
All right.
Speaking, you know, and we do this all, we've done this for a year now, and still.
We're still slow to go. Yeah. So welcome. Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day to you, and thank you, Wendy, for inviting
Yeah.
us, and New Bern Now. We are glad to be here again.
Awesome.
The Carolina Nature Coalition, you know, we started here in New Bern in 2013.
Oh, wow.
And we've been doing things monthly ever since then. We started by showing the film Chasing Ice at the Trent River Coffee Company, and we thought we would just be doing some films there, and but we extended out. We did a lot of presentations, so we've done a lot since 2013. Our mission is to present things, environmental and for environmental justice to the community, and to help people engage in meaningful community action. So the last thing that we did, was we had the river keeper, the Lower Neuse river keeper. She was on our program. For the last year, we've had to do it like this.
Right.
Because of COVID. And so all our presentations are on our website.
Oh, that's
and our
great.
website is CarolinaNatureCoalition.org.
CarolinaNatureCoalition.org.
Right. And so it's very easy to find, so you can find our, the last presentation and the presentations for the last year on that. The Chasing Ice that we started with was about that the ice was melting in the glaciers. This was almost 8-10 years ago we were talking about that, about climate change. And so that was one of the things we talked about, but we spent a lot of time talking about water, because water is life.
Yes.
And so we've done a lot of presentations over the years. We've had both the city water and the county water. People talk about where our water comes from, the aquifers. And we've, in the summertime, we didn't do presentations. We could do now because we could do it on video, but before it was too hot in places. And so we took people on tours. And one of the tours we'll do it again. One of the tours we went to was the Craven County water plant, which was really interesting, to see where our water comes from, and they explained it to us. We also took a tour of the recycling facility down in Jacksonville, which was really interesting also to see that. So we've done, we also took a tour of the Tuscarora Landfill.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say it. I love going there. Bobbi is going to be joining us soon.
Bobbi showed us around. We went up on that hill there, and we not only saw the landfill, but we saw where they are reclaiming energy from there.
Very impressive.
So that's another thing we talked about. We talked about sustainable energy. So we've done a lot over the last, the last years. And in the summer, we go to different places. Even this last summer, being safe, we stayed about 6 feet apart. But we had a tour of the Island Creek Park.
I remember that. Yeah, that was awesome. I really enjoyed that. That was fun.
And that is also on our, all of this is on our website. So Island Creek Park is being saved. I think it's the Coastal Land Trust. It became, it became some of it became part of what the Sierra Club and other groups worked on when they're doing the Havelock bypass, because they're going through some of the Croatan forest. They had to, I said substitute, there's another word for it, but some of the other land for the land that they're using, which is very important.
Right, yeah, and just a little note about that. I don't know if you've been in the Croatan out near the Bryce's Creek Wildlife Management Area, but it's been at least 4 years since that was maintained. The food plots going back, you couldn't walk because it was just so overgrown. Well, they've opened up those trails. Somebody plowed those trails, and it's just fantastic. And I have a feeling their next project is gonna be out at Island Creek Trail, because that, of course, is part of the Croatan, and to fix up, because that's still damaged, unless I haven't been out there in a couple months, but
Yeah,
from the hurricane, right?
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there's still the short walk is still good. We did that, this in the summer, but we are going to walk the Bryce's Creek area too. So we and so have people check out our website, or if they want to join us, go to the website and you can join us there, and we'll let you know when we're going to be doing the walks at the Bryce's Creek area, because that is a new area which has opened up, and of course we want to go there.
Yeah, and every day is Earth Day for the Carolina Nature Coalition, because you all, what we're doing today, we're bringing, the different resources together from across the state and locally, but you do that like every month, you do that in some kind of presentation, or, and you work so hard, and I hope you understand. I hope you know how much that means to people in our community. And if people want to join to become a member, how do they do that?
Go to our website, Carolina Nature Coalition. Go down, and you can see where you can send a message to us. Send us your email, and you can get right on our email list. We've had people. We try to do a broad range of things. We even not this Christmas, but last Christmas before, we had people making environmentally friendly Christmas decorations and
Nice.
out of things, and we're into trying to do a sustainable energy. Our next thing, we're hoping next month to have someone from the Sustainable Energy Association speak to us. But we also are looking, for what people can do.
Yes.
I think later on, Carol Ostler will be speaking on what we can do in terms of helping the environment and ecology. So that's going to be good. We've had professors from East Carolina University speak. And when they speak, we like to have that at the library, just to have a lot more room.
Yeah.
And we filled up the library with some of the speakers from East Carolina. We also want to bring environmental justice people. So we've had several times. We had Naima Muhammad from the North Carolina Environmental Justice Network to speak about hog farms. And one of the last ones was after Hurricane Florence, to speak about just recovery. I mean, we're still recovering
Right.
from Hurricane Florence, and we
Yeah.
have to think about what we're going to do before the next hurricane comes, because it's coming.
It is coming. Yeah. And
your organization is phenomenal, and you're doing so much education, and I have to say you're doing some instigation too, which is wonderful. So you're getting people excited about our environment, and we really appreciate everything you're doing. So thank you. And again, it's carolinanaturecoalition.org.
Yes.
For people to get to your website.
Yeah,
right,
and we hate to cut you off, but we got to stay on schedule. And
well, this is the thing is that both Don and I are also part of the Sierra Club, the Croatan Sierra Club.
Yes,
and Don and Carol are our next speakers. So
good. Okay.
Don
Don is the next speaker. Carol's going to be joining us later,
Right.
but I'm guessing they're
Uh,
using the same.
Can you
computer
keep me on?
because
Can you keep me on with him?
I don't see why not.
Okay. All right.
As long
'Cause-
as they don't have a problem with it.
No, he
No,
is the
I'm
he is-
joking.
I just want to say he is the vice president of the Carolina Nature Coalition, as well as the secretary of the Croatan Sierra Club.
Well, you've gotten your
there he
introduction
is.
already.
Yeah, and you're not Carol, you are Don Ostler. So it's great to see you, Don.
Hey, Don, welcome. Happy Earth Day.
Can you see us?
Can you hear Don?
You might need headphones, Don. I don't know that you can hear us.
Well, he doesn't know that because he can't hear us.
Audio.
We can see you. Sorry. There
We
has
can see you, but you
Hearing.
can't hear us.
Let's all go like this. Hearing.
Ears? Oh,
Uh-oh.
you just shut down again. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
Michael, why don't you do an introduction? And while you're doing that, I have to resend a Zoom link. So I'm paying
Yeah,
attention, but yeah.
okay. The
So tell us about the Sierra Club.
the Croatan Sierra Club started around the same time, 2014. There had been a Sierra Club that was all of Eastern North Carolina out of Greenville, but that's too big. So the people in Morehead City who were very interested in protecting our coast, especially from oil drilling.
Mhm.
And the protecting our beaches, they decided that they needed to have their own, and so they started the Croatan group for the Sierra Club, and one of the main things that they were doing, along with other groups along the coast, was fighting against both the sonic testing that were hurting the fish, but also the possibility of oil drilling, and they've succeeded. Right now, there will be no oil drilling off the coast, but they're also working on so many other things going on, sustainable coastlines, I'm trying to think of the other. And Don, he has joined in the last couple of years, but he has became the secretary of the group, which was very important. When you hear of secretary, you usually think about a woman. At least you used to think about a woman being secretary, but now both the leadership of the group and the in the group and the positions, it doesn't make a difference. The only thing is that you are concerned about the environment. Now, the Sierra Club itself, I think it was, wow, when was it started?
I think it was started in the early 1900s, wasn't it?
It was
A long time ago.
a
Yeah.
long time. It is the oldest environmental group.
Yeah. I do have a write-up here about the Craven group of the Sierra Club, and it says it encompasses 5 counties in eastern North Carolina: Carteret, Craven, Jones, Onslow, and Pamlico. Their footprint covers the beaches of the Crystal Coast, including Cape Lookout National Seashore, the diverse ecosystem of the Croatan National Forest, the river basins of the White Oak and Newport Rivers, the fertile marshes of Down East, as well as the lower Neuse River and the upper Pamlico Sound, with its prolific estuary and river beaches.
That's right.
There you go. And
No,
all right.
no,
There's Don.
no audio.
Oh,
We
no,
got
got-
audio.
we hear
we
you.
can hear you now.
We hear you now. We can
I
hear
can-
you.
But he can't hear us.
Well,
Wait.
for anyone that doesn't
All
know,
right,
this
Michael
is
can handle it.
Don Ostler.
Uh-oh.
He's frustrated with the computer.
Yeah, we understand that.
Oh,
I, you
I'll
know,
try.
How often does the group meet?
Now, the North Carolina Sierra Club
Mhm.
just turned 50. 50 years. It actually started. Last year was the 50th anniversary of
Mhm.
Earth Day.
birthday. Yep.
Well, the North Carolina Sierra Club started the same year.
Oh,
So
Huh.
and
That's
so
interesting.
so the North Carolina is 50 years old, and one of the reasons why I joined the Sierra Club. A lot of people join for many reasons, but I joined because I saw that they were not only tree huggers. Yeah, I mean, I love trees. I live out in the country. It's beautiful out here. But, when I saw that they were also dealing with social issues,
mhm.
that was one of the reasons why I joined them when I saw that their leader, Mike Brune, was talking about social issues, was dealing with like the pipeline. I
Mhm.
actually took a bus to Washington D.C. to to a big rally, and so that's what got me more involved with the Sierra Club. And the Sierra Club is one of the groups that does endorse environmental candidates. As a matter of fact, I'm actually the political chair for the Croatan Sierra Club.
All right, but we're not getting political today.
No,
Yeah, we
no,
don't.
no, 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 no.
La,
That's
la,
what I said. No,
Yeah.
no political, no political. Just want to let you know that we
Hey,
are
hi, Carol.
that it's nonpartisan. Okay. Matter of fact,
Right.
in
Whoops.
Oops,
Wait.
you just
Sorry.
muted.
Michael, I just muted you by mistake. I didn't do it on purpose. I swear. You're muted, Michael.
I'm
There you
unmuted.
go.
Oh,
There
there
you
you
go.
are.
Okay.
Sorry. I didn't do that on purpose.
I wait a second. I'm not sure.
But we
So
do have a few minutes. Michael, do you want to you want to stay with us while we talk about, have you met Chris Davis with Seed to Shaker, the food truck, the mobile food truck?
the mobile food that's with
He does drinks, and
Libations.
libations, yes, but they're all natural. He has, do we have a write up on Chris, the Seed to Shaker? Here
Yes,
we are.
let me see. I've got it here. Oh, I know I have it. There it is. The Seed to Shaker set out to offer Eastern North Carolina a true farm-to-table experience in a glass. It's more than just a craft mobile bar catering service. It all starts in our commercial indoor aquaponics garden, where they grow the specialty herbs and garnishes that go into each of their signature creations. Each drink served from their vintage 1966 fully equipped mobile bar is curated using only the freshest ingredients and distinct flavor profiles. And they have their website, Seed to Shaker.
Yeah, and another thing, a couple things to note, they're very eco-minded, and they were part of the Craven market. What was it? Craven come on. Oh my gosh, Craven local Craven market. It was off of 17. Anyway.
Oh, cool.
They were farmed, part of the farmers. And
you have the same problem I have.
CRS, can't remember stuff.
Yeah, stuff. So, but I went to see Chris. He was set up at Habitat for Humanity, the Restore, and he was serving the drinks, and the drinks were like all like natural, the homegrown ingredients, not like liquor or anything, but some had zing to them, and it was they were served in totally recyclable cups and
wow.
hay and straws made of hay. I've seen
Oh, yeah.
straws made of, like paper back in the day, but I haven't seen those. So that's really neat. That's their whole focus is going eco-friendly, like, sustainable living. And
That's
so
super.
he's a great resource. You might want to interview him in the future, but
Yes, he might be one of the people to speak.
Sure.
Because that would be a great, because one of the biggest things that the Sierra Club is doing is working on against these plastics. The one-use plastics, because that's one of the worst things going on, because they do not decay. I just had to get off another thing. I don't know if any of you know Sam Love, the poet.
yes. Oh, yes. He's wonderful.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, he was actually doing something
wrote a
today.
book.
Yes, he was doing something today at Martin Community College. He was giving a presentation just before this, so I got on it, and it was a great presentation with his poetry, but he also talked about all about the how long the plastics last in the ocean. Those 6-pack
The rings on the
things,
6-pack,
400 years.
Oh my.
Yeah,
And that's
crazy.
so
Yeah.
we have to do something to reduce them, at least reduce them, and maybe get rid of them.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy
Yeah.
with anybody that using a real recyclable, either paper or other straws as
Or just refuse the straw.
well.
Yes. Well, I hope Chris,
If you can.
I hope his vision, hopefully people that are listening, and they go to these different coffee shops or places that have, different cafes, to say, hey, why don't you do what Chris is doing, just on a local level, and he's find out what he's using, because it's totally just
Biodegradable.
biodegradable. Thank you.
Yeah.
And they have straws. And before I forget, Living Well Down East, I just found this out yesterday. They are stopped by there on Middle Street, and they are giving away color pages that you color, and then they're going to have some kind of contest. So for all the details, check out Living Well Down East. And the Hannah House, our dear friends Camille and Joe Klotz, the innkeepers, they're giving little tours of the beehives and the charging station today from noon to 2:30, I think, because their guests come in around 3. So you got to stop by and check out their hive. As Camille says, her girls, and they are located at 218 Pollock Street. So they're really interested in sustainable living also.
They got beehives down there?
They do.
They have,
Wow.
for a
That's
while. You gotta go by and check it out. I mean,
right.
Yeah, just give her a call. Anyway.
We did a
from
presentation
today until 2:30.
We did a presentation on I think the second one we did was on the vanishing of the bees. We did a thing, and we had a beekeeper from out here do a talk on that. So we might.
Well, you should go down. Yes, you should go there, and she will do a discussion right there in her backyard. It's a gorgeous area. And one more thing, speaking of bees, I found out on the the Global Earth Challenge, which is it's an initiative. If you go to globalearthchallenge.earthday.org, you can become a citizen scientist and take pictures of the bees in your area and upload them to their cloud. And there's other projects from water to different resources. So it's a really it's fun. I mean, I was a part of the NC Wild, what was it, the Candid Critters, where I would go out with my trail cam, you know, but it's fun getting involved in actually creating, you know, data points for the actual scientists, you know, as Dr. Glasgow mentioned earlier. So
Now,
that's,
you're going to put that on your site, right?
I will. I'll
Okay.
add that after the show.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
great.
But if you just Google Earth Challenge, no, Global Earth Challenge, and the website is globalearthchallenge.earthday.org. So really cool. Become a citizen scientist, and it's a great thing to do with your kids if you have kids.
And it is for kids
So,
and adults. It's not just, you know, it's not limited. So they've got projects that everybody can participate in. And
Yeah.
it's a
You
really
mean,
neat thing.
the younger kids and the older kids and the really older kids.
Yeah, well, the younger
All
ones will
levels of
teach us
childhood, yes.
how to do all the photography and uploading and all that stuff. So, Michael,
Yeah, that's why we need the little kids.
yeah.
Okay.
Michael, we really appreciate you hanging out
Okay.
with us today, and
Thanks
for
so much.
everything that you and Don and Carol will be joining us. Hopefully, if they get the mic thing square, you know.
They've got their mic working, they just
Carol.
can't hear us. So they've got to switch their speakers so that they can hear
Yeah.
what's going on. But
I'll
since they can't hear us,
try. I'll call them up and see if hopefully they get, because she did have a problem last time, but that was a different problem.
Well, she'll be back at 2:20.
Right.
She's going to be demonstrating reusing, recycling, repurposing for our environment. But
Right.
for now, we're going to say farewell, my
All right.
friend. And
Farewell.
We'll see you,
Happy
we'll see
Earth
you
Day.
later.
Happy
Have a
Earth
great
Day.
day.
Get out in this
Woohoo!
nice, cooler weather. I'm about to go out and take a walk right now
good for you.
on my country road out here. So I'll see you
Very
later.
good.
See you
Enjoy.
later. Have a great
Thank you.
day. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. Okay, who's next?
Great. We've
Wow,
got,
that's a lot of information. Are
I
you having
know.
fun, Jane? I'm having
these
fun.
are such great organizations. We're so fortunate to have
I can't
all these
believe I
different
know.
resources.
Like the
Yeah,
North
and-
Carolina
and
Coastal
the-
Federation. Holy cow. For them to come on. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm honored, like big time. So this is yeah.
that's so cool. What a great organization for education and for encouragement and to get you tuned in with how our whole environment works. I mean, taking those tours had to be really something. I hadn't been on them, but I've done one similar up in Connecticut. But it's really quite an education when you get to see the behind the scenes on our recycling and our water treatment and all that, and you understand a little bit more of what goes into it.
Yeah.
Literally
Yeah.
and figuratively.
Well, and when they were talking about it, all of them are on the website, the videos. I even just watching Carol and Don and Michael in the woods at Island Creek, it was just really just enjoyable, and
Nice.
during the pandemic,
Yes.
was just, well, it's still the pandemic. So, and right now we have Rachel Bissessy of the North Carolina Coastal Federation up next. And
All right.
okay,
Rachel, you're there. Let's see. You got to bring her in and then
bring
get her
in.
unmuted and on camera. We love
Okay,
to
now-
see your smiling face. Okay,
Yeah,
Rachel's
if-
there.
If
Can you
people are
unmute
watching,
Rachel? Yay, she's got it down. All right.
she's a pro
Nice
at
to
this.
see you. Yeah, this is great.
Happy Earth Day.
Thank you.
Happy Earth Day. Look at
Thanks
that
for
sunshine
joining
beaming in
us.
behind you. It's great.
Yes, thank you so much for letting us come on.
No,
It's
thank
exciting.
you. Yeah.
So
Wonderful.
tell us about the North Carolina Coastal Federation. What are you doing and how can we help?
All right. Well, the North Carolina Coastal Federation, we are an environmental nonprofit organization. And we actually have 3 offices. Our headquarters office is in Ocean, kind of in between Morehead City and Swansboro. And then we have an office down in Wrightsville Beach and one up in the Outer Banks in Wanchese. So we have educators on staff as well as advocates and scientists that help us do our work coastwide.
Wow.
And we were founded in 1982, so we work to do different projects just to keep the coast clean and healthy.
Great.
Wonderful. Yeah, you do a lot of projects. I subscribe to your email list, so I see you're doing a lot of stuff. And do you want to give us some examples of what you've recently done?
Sure. So actually recently, we have been working with a lot of different partners to remove abandoned and derelict vessels that were littered in our waterways after Hurricane Florence mostly.
Yeah.
And so this is a project that is possible with some funding from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation in partnership with NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and the Natural Resources Conservation Service in partnership with Division of Coastal Management. So there's a lot of different groups that we work with to do different projects, but they recently actually removed 2 vessels in New Bern. So I wanted to mention that since you all are located in New Bern.
Thank you.
But they're working up and down the coast to remove marine debris, which is one of our 5 goals at the Coastal Federation, is to reduce marine debris or litter. And then we have 4 other goals that kind of focus on clean water, or stormwater solutions, living shorelines, healthy oysters, and sound coastal management.
Super. So are you part of the reason why I'm seeing fish painted next to the sewer drains downtown to remind me that that's where it's going, as it back out to the ocean?
Well, that's not one of our specific projects, but we support that as well. You know, we do use a lot of nature-based solutions. So we try to work with nature in protecting our waters and our shoreline. And that's one way that people can help. If you go to our website, which I'll put the link in the chat here and in the comments on Facebook too. But there's this great publication that we have called Smart Yards.
Hold on, let me move speaker view. There we go. Wow, that's nice.
And so the Smart Yards, it has different simple things that you can do just in your yard or at your business to help reduce polluted runoff, which is a major, is the #1 source of water pollution here on our coast. So things like building a rain garden, which is like a bowl-shaped garden with native plants that helps to collect rainwater so it can't run off and pick up pollutants entering our waterways. Rerouting your downspout, you can buy these things that look like giant robot arms at the hardware store and hook them up to your gutter so that it just moves the rainwater coming from your roof into the landscape instead of on the pavement. Where
That's what I need to do.
Potential runoff. That's like a $10 attachment that makes a big difference.
Right.
In reducing stormwater runoff. Talks about rain barrels, native plants, permeable parking. So different ways to make parking lots so that the rainwater can soak into the ground instead of becoming runoff. And then also talks about living shorelines, which are different techniques used to help prevent erosion on the sound side, but they provide habitat at the same time.
Oh, that's
so
great.
There's lots of ideas in this little booklet on our website, which again, I'll link to all of this stuff. And then other ways you can help at the Coastal Federation. We do a lot of volunteer events when it's safe to do so. We haven't been doing too many public ones lately because of the virus, but I think we're going to start picking things back up later in the summer and in the fall. So on our website, there's an event calendar where you can learn about our volunteer efforts. We usually do shoreline cleanups where we're picking up litter along the estuary. We plant marsh grasses a lot of times, and we also build living shorelines using recycled oyster shells. So there's a lot of different opportunities for ways people can get involved.
That's
Well,
great.
I have a question. What about the Christmas trees? Are you part of that organization that does that?
So I think at Fort Macon State Park, I think the
Mhm.
state park does mostly. And then I know that some of the towns on the ocean front have started to collect the trees as well.
I was just asking, a friend of mine has a tree that they haven't got rid of, so I'm like, well, they're doing something. I read it back after Christmas, so
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I know we have, so we have an online news service called Coastal Review Online, which is a free daily news service during the work week. You just get an email with the news for that day, and it is based on environmental coastal issues. And I know they did a story on where you could take your Christmas trees, so they maybe could look into that.
Yeah.
Searching Coastal
That's
Review
where
online.
That's where I saw it, because I think you just did a story on permeable parking. Is that right?
I'm sure yep.
Yeah. So
I'm sure they have some of those. And then I also wanted to link, we have a great newer website that we made just last year that's linked within our website, but it's called our Distance Learning Lab. And it's
sweet.
for students. And it has a really fun collection of videos and activities from a whole bunch of different local partners on coastal science and stewardship. So I'll share the link to that as well. If people are interested, you can learn how to get involved that way too.
That's great.
fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah.
So okay, if you're listening or out there, do y'all have any questions for Rachel?
Rachel, how did you get involved with this organization? What prompted you to join?
Well, I'm from Pine Level, North Carolina, so in the Piedmont, and I just always was interested in the coast. And so when I went to college at UNC Wilmington, I was able to volunteer with the Coastal Federation at our Wrightsville Beach office.
Mhm.
And I learned about the organization then. And then when I graduated, I worked at a lot of different other places. And then I went to grad school, but I found my way back to the Coastal Federation as an intern and a volunteer. And then I got lucky because when I graduated in December one year, their education coordinator was leaving. So I kind of snuck my way in there.
Nice work.
Well, you're doing an awesome job.
That's interesting. You came from the mountains down to the coast, and this is where you want to be.
Yes, I love being here on the coast
Well,
for sure. We live in such a beautiful place. I think we're really honored to live here, and if we're proactive about taking care of our coast and our planet, we're caring for ourselves at the same time. So we're real thankful for everything that the coast has to offer, for sure.
Great.
Well, and we're thankful for you joining us today and educating us.
Thank you,
So
ladies.
this is
You are doing a
fantastic.
great job.
And once again,
Thank
say your
you.
website so that people will remember it.
It's nccoast.org.
Very simple.
That's
nccoast.org.
Yes.
Yeah.
Super.
And I'm going to put it in the chat box
Great.
right now.
All right.
Great. Wendy will be able to post that later. That's
Yes.
super. Thanks, Rachel. We're so glad that you're
Thank
with
you.
today.
Yes.
Happy
thank
Earth
you,
Day,
ladies.
and this is a wonderful opportunity for us to learn more about how to protect our environment and see what we can do. Might not be glamorous, mucking around and planting things or picking up trash, but it sure does help.
Yeah.
We always have a lot of fun when we're out there too.
I bet.
So.
That's great. Thanks,
All right.
Rachel.
Well, thank you, Rachel. Have a great day.
Yay.
Happy
Take
Earth
care.
Day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Let's see here.
It's really interesting how people find their way to their right work. Nice work, Rachel.
Yes.
Right where she belongs. That's great.
There we go. Okay, and up next, where are we at? Oh, wow.
We've got Anna Meadows.
We have 2 minutes. Holy cow. We're plugging away. We're staying on track, Jane. That's I'm touching wood right now. But let's see if Anna's in the room, because there we go. Anna and Barbara Smith, they're both joining us, and that way they'll have 2 extra minutes.
All right.
And there we go.
And her mic's open, everything's ready, and there's Barbara.
Hi, Anna. How are you?
I am doing great today. How are you?
Awesome. Yes. I'm trying to get
I'm
Barbara.
really enjoying these presentations, and I can't wait to go back and look at the couple that I have that I wasn't able to see earlier. And this is a great program that y'all are putting on.
Well, thank you both for joining us. And Barbara, can you hear us?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. If you can lower your camera down a little bit, then we can see your whole face. Right now, you look like you're wearing your mask. Hey, now we can see your smile. I like that much better.
I
That's
need
good.
something under my computer, I guess. Here we go.
There you go. Super.
So happy
All
Earth
right.
Day.
Happy Earth Day.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy Earth Day. Glad you're here. So tell us about this North Carolina Native Plant Society, because we had Dr. Tom Glasgow on, and he was, cautioning us about the plants that we're putting in our gardens and on our patio planters and everything. And he really was encouraging us to make sure that they're native. So I'm looking to you to be the guide for this, to tell us what are the types of things that we should be planting here.
Absolutely. And there is a ton of resources that are out there. And I will be happy to send you all a list of links after I get off of the interview here, so that you all can put it on your site. And I'm also going to put it on our Facebook page. The North Carolina Native Plant Society has been around for several decades, and its mission is to promote and to educate native plants, native plant education, native plant conservation, and native plant cultivation. And that's actually kind of a trend these days. Plants that grew here and evolved here in this continent and in this area, insects, birds, butterflies, and moths, it's food for them. Now, we can plant a lot of pretty flowers that have pollen, and butterflies and bees can get the nectar off of that. But when it comes time to lay their eggs and hatch caterpillars, they cannot use, for the most part, they can't use plants that come from other continents. And plants that come from other continents is what fill our gardens, because, well, for a variety of reasons. They're attuned to our oak trees, our native pear trees, our not pear trees, but our native cherry trees, our native shrubs and things like that. And host plants are what's important. When a host plant is a plant that an insect, a butterfly, a moth can lay its eggs on, and the little baby caterpillars can eat it, and then go on to become grown-up butterflies and moths and insects and perpetuate the cycle. The reason it's really important to have those little baby caterpillars and insects is because that's what birds need to feed their babies, because they're soft, okay? Babies need soft food, and that includes birds as well. They can't eat the bird seed, things like that. And what's kind of happened is, because we have yards full of beautiful plants that are from someplace else, there's not enough food for babies. The baby caterpillars need to munch on local plants, and the birds need those caterpillars to feed their babies. So that's one big reason for cultivating native plants. The other is for conservation, and the final reason is for beauty and enjoyment, because It's all over North Carolina, all over the Southeast. We have a stunning variety of beautiful plants that are adapted to our local conditions. So if you have a place that is hot and dry and sandy, there are native plants that evolved here that love hot and dry and sandy. Or if you've got a swampy area in your backyard and you can't get anything to live, I guarantee you that there's a native plant that you could put back there, a shrub or a small tree that would absolutely thrive in those conditions and provide you beautiful beauty instead of muck. So that there's a lot of good reasons for the native plants.
What a great summary. And before we continue, I just want to make sure we did a proper introduction. Anna Meadows is with the I just had it. The North Carolina Native Plant Society, and Barbara Smith is with you're a Craven Master Gardener. So
Actually, I'm
Yeah.
both.
Mhm.
oh, you're both. Okay, well, that's great. I didn't know that, so now we know. Wonderful. Wow, Anna, that was a terrific way to explain, the process about the cultivating. I really should have known that, but I didn't know that. So there's a lot of stuff that we're learning today that, yeah.
Let me tell you something. I have loved and been passionate about native plants for decades, since I was a child. And I did not know that piece of information until the past few months when I got formally involved with the North Carolina Native Plant Society. We have a local chapter now. There are chapters all around the state. And before now, the closest chapter has been Wilmington, which is a little bit of a difficult drive, particularly if you are in Pitt County or Beaufort County or even Craven. But on the Facebook group belonging to the society, a woman, Carol Townsend from the area, posted a question and gave her location. So a bunch of us started corresponding back in November and December and decided to form a local chapter. And she was the one that told me about the work of a man named Doug Tallamy and his Homegrown National Park project, which is all about encouraging homeowners to plant certain native plants and shrubs and trees that will most support butterflies and moths and soft-bodied insects. And there's websites dedicated to that. And it was his work that taught me that. I didn't know, despite having been interested in this for years, I didn't know that. So, and not a lot of people do.
Now we do.
So Barbara, as a master gardener, when you're making, helping somebody plan out their garden or talking to people about their plants, and of course, everybody wants to know how they can stop feeding the deer, which is pretty impossible to do here. But how do you guide somebody to select the right plants for the right place and that are native?
Well, for one thing, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The Master Gardeners have a class at Craven County Community College that people can sign up for, especially if you're new to the area. And it covers all kinds of areas of gardening in, Eastern North Carolina. I teach a small section on native plants and invasive plants. And today I'd like to talk a little bit about invasive plants. But there's lots and lots of websites that you can look at. And Anna and I will probably both be posting some of these same sites for either the Native Plant Society, which has a wonderful website. They list all kinds of plants, and with that, they give you the scientific name so you can make sure you're getting the right plant. They tell you what conditions it needs, and they just divide them out as far as trees, shrubs, perennials, ground covers. So if you're looking for a specific site and you need a tree, you can just look at that section. They also have a whole list of the invasive plants in North Carolina, and they tell you by how dangerous they are. They have them divided in categories. So North Carolina Native Plant Society is probably one of your key places to look on the internet, but there's lots of others as well.
Great.
The biggest problem right now we have, I think, is getting the nurseries and especially the big box stores on board with giving us more sources for these plants.
But with that said, can I, before you go on, Kathy said, how can I tell if the plants at the local garden centers are native to this area? So is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, you really, most of some of the better nurseries that are more specialized here in New Bern, like Pinecone Perennials, I think would have pretty good information. But the big box stores may or may not be able to tell you. Unfortunately, they're not really labeling plants native or non-native. So you need to have your smartphone with you where you can look on the Native Plant Society's list.
Right.
You can also look up, Lady Bird Johnson has, they have a garden, native plant garden. It's out in Texas, but they list native plants for the whole country.
Wow.
And they'll describe all about it.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
So
Yeah.
it's also really important when you're looking at these species that you do use their Latin name. Is that correct? So that you know that you've got the right species?
Yeah, for instance, I was just looking today at an invasive plant, which is Japanese spiderwort. And I thought, well, I thought spiderwort was native. So I looked it up, and sure enough, it's a different species altogether.
Oh,
Wow.
It's a different genus for that matter.
Huh.
Oh, wow.
So if you don't know the right scientific name, you don't know if you're looking at the plant you think you're looking at.
Yeah. Anna, do you wanted to add to that?
I do actually. I'm so glad Barbara brought that up, and I'm so glad that that question was asked. Beautyberry is one that I have noticed. Beautyberry is a local shrub. You'll see it growing alongside the roadside, and you don't really notice it much during most of the summer, but then in the fall it has these gorgeous fuchsia colored berries that just really pop. And a lot of us are beginning to plant it in our gardens, and garden centers are beginning to sell it. However, there's different varieties of it with slightly different colors. However, there are a couple of other species of beautyberries from Asia and I think Europe that are also being widely sold under the name beautyberry. And they're first cousins, but they're not natives, and they are potentially invasive. I have seen a yard where like a couple of those were planted, and now the whole yard is full of those, and the homeowner keeps pulling them up out of their gardens. And
Yikes.
so if in doubt, check online with those sources that Barbara mentions. You can also, if you're looking at the Latin name, if it has Americana or Americanus, i.e. America, or if it has Virginiana or Virginianus, i.e. Virginia, that was kind of a catch-all term back in the day for the New World, then that's going to be a North American native species. And sometimes Carolinianus.
Canadensis
yeah,
is another one.
Canadensis, yes. But yeah, there are some first cousins to native plants that are being sold that are potentially invasive. So it's good to check that out.
Wow.
I would like to point out, though, that just because it's native does not mean it's native here.
Oh.
In other words, it could be native in Arizona or California, but that's a long way from Carolina.
Yeah.
So you want to be sure that, and that's why you want to look it up on one of these websites, because they'll tell you where its native range is. And if it's not native, it could actually be invasive here, whereas in say Arizona, it's not invasive. So to get the right information about what you're planting, it's really important to research a little before you just, see something pretty and buy it. Believe me, I've done that in the past and I highly regret it. I have something called Houttenia, which has taken over my whole yard, and it is almost impossible to eradicate.
Oh,
no.
Some people call it Joseph's coat, so be careful of that one. Now
Okay.
that one, I don't even know if it's native or not, because native plants some of them can be aggressive.
Right.
And people call them invasive, but invasive just means that it did not evolve in that landscape or in that ecosystem.
Right.
So when you use that term, that's what you mean. If it's a native plant to that area, it might be, some of us call them thugs, garden thugs, but if it's native, it's not invasive. That's just a
Like
terminology
peppermint would be a thug.
Could be in the right location. I keep them in pots.
Mhm. They need to be contained.
But actually peppermint, believe it or not, has European origin. It's
Oh,
not
huh.
even native.
Wow.
I had
Very
a couple of
interesting.
other points about invasive plants.
sure.
Usually they're introduced from Europe or Asia,
Mhm.
like Chinese wisteria, Japanese honeysuckle. Japanese honeysuckle was actually introduced in 1806.
Oh boy.
Wow.
And it came in similar to what is that plant that grows up on the trees?
Wisteria.
Mistletoe.
No. I mean, it covers trees.
Wisteria.
Well,
Wisteria.
wisteria is one too. But at any rate, the Japanese honeysuckle was brought in as a erosion control and also to feed wild animals. But they just didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
No, kudzu is the one that was also
Yeah.
brought in for erosion control. We don't have so much trouble with it here on the coast, but yeah, it's become a huge problem all over the country.
Yeah.
And I think it's been kind of explained pretty well about the fact that we need to plant the natives. It's
Mhm.
a food chain situation. And it's not just that we're supporting the birds and the butterflies because they're pretty, but they supply food. Like those caterpillars supply food for birds, as well as the insects supply food for lots of frogs and things like that. And then they in turn become food for a larger mammal.
Mhm.
And of course, the insects pollinate our food,
Right.
so this is a whole food chain situation. And if we don't support our insects, we eventually will not survive.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I totally, yes.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Yes,
And
Anna.
one of the things that I love about working with native plants is because, and can you all hear me? I'm getting some
We can
audio.
hear
some
you.
kind of
Barbara
feed-
seems to be locked right now. Yeah.
Okay. Anyhow, I'll go ahead and say this for the recording. It puts power to improve the environment directly into our own hands. We don't have to look to a larger agency. We can go and get these plants and plant them. And I like that empowering aspect of native plants.
Is somebody muted? Did I mute somebody by mistake?
You muted me, but we're okay now.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt the whole conversation.
It's okay. Anna, go back again to your thought, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we got you.
Okay, I wanted to say that one of the great things about planting native plants to support the food chain is it puts the power in my hands and your hands. It's not like we have to go and expect our go to the politicians and say please do this or whatever, which is important, but we can go plant oak trees, we can go plant river birches, we can go plant beauty berries, and even if you have a small lot, there are dwarf oak trees, there are smaller forms of a lot of these, and a little bit goes a long way. Doug Tallamy's backyard homegrown national park, that website can take you to another website that lists the most important species to plant in your area. And spoiler alert, oaks are the greatest supporter of moths and butterflies and caterpillars. They are so crucial to the food chain. So oaks are the number one. And there are
turkeys and squirrels and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But we'd love to go on, but we're tight on time. And Anna, it's great seeing you, and we lost Barbara, but thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
So could you give your website one more time, and we'll put it in the conversation when we're finished here.
Yeah, it's ncwildflower.org is the state North Carolina Native Plant Society website, ncwildflower.org. And also the local chapter has a Facebook page, and it's the NC Native Plant Society Central Coastal Plain. And that's where you can get local announcements of local stuff going on.
Great. Thanks so
Okay.
much. Well, happy Earth Day. Thank you, Barbara. I don't know that you
Thank
can
you.
hear us, but we appreciate both you and Anna being here. Thanks so much for the information. And it's great to know that you're here as a resource and with all the things that you're doing for our community. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
it's great seeing you, Anna and Barbara.
Right, take
See
care.
you later. Thank you. Woo! That was
Great.
wonderful. Great
This is
information.
great. Okay, Bobbi Waters is standing by, ready
Okay.
to pop in here.
And
You've got Bobbi.
Come on, Bobbi. I'm bringing you in, trying.
There you go. That was great. We've got so many wonderful resources for information, whether it's planting or preserving or whatever. This is a great coalition you've pulled together here today. Nice work,
Oh,
Wendy.
Thank you. How did we get on this?
And there's
view?
Bobbi. Okay, we got Bobbi here.
Unmute.
She's unmuted, but we can't see you. Can you turn your camera on, Bobbi? You want to see your
Her video? Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. All
Hey.
right. Yay.
Friend.
How are y'all?
Hey, we're
Oh, I miss you.
Happy Earth Day.
Oh,
Happy Earth Day. We're a stand,
Yeah.
so I can't come by on couch.
He's a
Stand
day,
nearby?
he's a day play, and
Oh.
Bobbi was with us the same time last year, starting this whole thing off. So
Mhm.
it's great seeing you, lady. I haven't seen you since. So,
No.
but yeah,
How are y'all doing?
good. So
We're doing just dandy.
how are you doing?
I
Good.
am wonderful.
Happy Earth Day.
I am wonderful. It's happy Earth Day to y'all.
Yeah.
And so
Oh,
you
this is
probably
the-
heard us talking about you earlier when Michael was talking about taking a tour of the recycling program.
Oh, you need to come out here to the landfill. We're
The
not,
landfill,
but-
that's what he was
Yeah.
talking about, going to see the landfill. Yeah.
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 We'd love to haven't done a tour in a while because of COVID, but
Right.
Well, we did a New Bern Now did a video 2016. I was looking at a couple weeks ago, and
Mhm.
it's still on our YouTube channel, but we need to do an updated video.
Yeah.
and see what the status is going on. And if you don't know Bobbi Waters, she's a solid waste planner and outreach coordinator for the Coastal Environmental Partnership.
There you go.
And you're
There you
out
go.
there at the Tuscarora Landfill, right?
I am and loving it.
Yeah.
Loving it. We, do you know where your trash goes when it leaves your house?
Away.
Right. Well, it eventually comes here to me.
Yeah.
And we take in about 750 tons a day.
Oh my
Holy
goodness.
cow. Oh my gosh. How much? Okay. A year ago, how much were you taking in? Do you know what that
About
stat was?
650.
Oh my gosh.
That's
We-
a lot.
Wow. So we're getting worse than we were a year ago.
Mhm.
More
Man.
trash. Goodness gracious.
We're getting a lot of COVID trash. People are staying home and, you know, generating trash and,
More boxes.
yep.
Yeah.
So,
more things getting shipped in because they weren't going out to shop.
Yep.
Yeah.
And in the takeout containers, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? People, before you could take your drink and refill it. And I don't know if they can do that. I haven't done that, but because I really don't go out, but I
Yeah,
think
me
people did there every day. People went to get coffee with their,
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but
I just
Yeah.
learned yesterday that nationally, each one of us generates about 5 pounds of trash a day.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to start weighing my trash.
Weigh your trash. About 5 pounds a day. I took
Holy
a look
cow.
at it yesterday.
Wow. I saw the picture on Facebook. I thought I'm one of your stalkers on Facebook.
Uh-huh.
And Elizabeth Pope, just real quick, she said, "Hi, Bobbi." So
Hey, Elizabeth.
you've got some
So we don't want to put
cheerleaders.
you out of business, Bobby, but what are some of the things that we should be thinking about with our trash?
Well,
Like, cutting it back a bit.
well, you know, it's kind of a catch-22 here because we want
Right.
everybody to recycle and reduce
Right.
their garbage, but that's how we pay for us.
Right.
But it's in our best interest to keep the cells open as long as possible and keep as much airspace.
Mhm.
Just reduce, reuse, recycle.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
recycling is that third. There actually is a step pyramid thing. Can't even think of the word now, but a hierarchy, a hierarchy of waste management, and recycling is actually not on the top, but it sure is helpful. We are on our 5th cell now. We're the highest point in Craven County
Wow.
at 125 feet.
Oh my.
A mountains of garbage. And then we're going to build on top of those.
And now
Wow.
you're also, if people don't know that you create methane
Yes.
goes into the power
You're taking the
source.
methane off the trash.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great
Lan-
program. Tell us about that.
Well, we've done it for a long time. Waste to energy. EPA, along with, Earth Day is 51 years old today. So EPA was created along with Earth Day and other RECRA, the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act. It says you can't just let the gas escape into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
So we were burning it. We were capturing it and burning it in a flare.
Mhm.
And then I believe it was 2007, we have this company on site, and they actually vacuum the methane from the trash, the buried trash. Methane makes up about 50% of the landfill gas, and they turn it into electricity.
That's outstanding.
That's
It's
incredible.
awesome.
That is incredible.
That's
Yeah.
outstanding.
That's really, I just love talking trash with you.
You love talking trash with me.
And I learned that saying from you, but yeah, talking trash with Bobbi, because you just
Yeah.
learned so much, and you have the coastal grow out there. You want to
Yeah.
tell us about that?
Oh, I need to tell you about that. We take clean yard waste. It's completely organic. We make this beautiful compost and mulch out of it. And right now we sell it for $10 a ton.
Oh my goodness, that's
So
a
it's
Beautiful. It looks like topsoil.
And that's
Oh,
less
wow.
than a penny a pound, right?
Right, less than a penny a
yeah.
pound.
That's crazy. So if I took an old bucket and wanted to fill it up, could I do that, or do I have to buy it by the ton?
No, you don't have to buy a ton. You have to buy $1 worth.
So
You
instead
have to
of
buy $1
going,
worth.
going to Lowe's, which somebody would transport it in from a truck from who knows where,
Mhm.
and you go buy topsoil or compost, from
Mhm.
there, you need to go to the Tuscarora Landfill, right?
That's right.
And so, where was I going with this? What is the difference between compost and topsoil? Or is there a difference?
I am not sure. I know that our compost is a soil amendment.
Mhm.
It doesn't have the nutrients you need
Oh,
to
okay.
grow stuff. I'm not sure what nutrients are in topsoil, but you would still need your nutrients, your fertilizers. But you could put the compost around bushes. Is definitely a great way to save water, because it just
Mhm.
acts like a sponge instead of just water going everywhere. Lots of good stuff to it.
Awesome.
great.
It's a really cool process.
It
You
is.
just get out there and see Bobbi, because there's rows of the different stages, right?
Mhm.
From what I recall.
Yeah.
You're a wonderful teacher, because she really teaches us the actual process of how everything works out there. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I love the landfill. Not that we really need to reduce our trash, but you're doing some great things.
Yeah, we appreciate it, and
Yeah.
remember, we have we take care of the trash, Pamlico, Carteret, and Craven counties.
Wow.
So we
Yes.
operate the transfer stations in Pamlico and Carteret counties. Am I out of time? Out of time?
We
You
can
got
give
a
you another
couple-
30 seconds. What do you need?
Okay. May 15th, we're going to have a household hazardous waste collection day in Pamlico County at the courthouse in Bayboro from 9 to 1. Bring old paint, I don't care how old it is, pesticides and everything, and gasoline will take it from you. And check out our website, because we're going to be doing this about 6 times a year now.
And
Super.
you do it in each county. And
Yes.
one more thing, you do not accept electronic waste, right?
Correct.
Okay.
The convenience centers, call your local solid waste department. Each county
Okay.
has a site for it.
Awesome.
And what's your website, Bobbi?
CEPNC.org.
CETNC.org.
Yes.
Excellent.
CE is an echo, P is in Paul, Peter.
Yeah. That's my Navy lady right there.
No, I'm not using the proper acronyms. Coastal Environmental Partnership, it stands for. So
There we go.
CEPNC.org.
That's it.
All right. That's
Great.
a mouthful.
Thanks for chatting with us.
Peace to y'all. Happy Earth Day.
See you later,
Peace
my
and
twin.
happy Earth Day.
All right. Thank
Happy
you.
Earth Day. All
Happy
right.
Earth Day.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Woo!
Bye. Yay.
Yay. Bobbi, people always ask me if I'm Bobbi, and they ask Bobbi if she's me. So they've been
They
doing that
get
for
you too
years.
confused.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
It's the smiles.
Well, we're
All
both
right.
short too. So, and let's see.
Okay,
Derek-
Anna Meadows is standing by and she's ready to roll. I'm sorry, not Anna Meadows.
Derek, the crazy
Yeah,
botanist.
Derek Haynes. Yep.
He's next, right?
Yes.
And then and Weston, right?
Yes, and Ann
So
Weston. Yep.
here we go. You ready for Derek?
I'm ready for the crazy botanist.
Oh
Absolutely.
my gosh. And we have, oh, Laura's here real quick. She can't
Hey,
hear
Laura.
you.
Hey, Derek. Great picture. We'd love to see you live and in person, though.
Ask to unmute.
I love that.
So
Derek, you can
talk
unmute
to
yourself.
the
Good, you got that. And now let's see you live. Hey,
There he
Laura.
is.
Hey, Derek. There you
Hello,
are.
I got up and I was,
Happy Earth Day.
hello, it's so good to see you all. I'm here at my station and
Super.
I was setting up
Awesome.
everything, making sure you all can see me okay. Y'all can see
We
what
can
I'm working.
see you. Yeah.
I'm putting you on speaker view.
There we go.
He needs a talk for the camera to go to him. Derek?
Talk for the camera to go to me.
There you go.
Okay, so everyone can see me and hear me?
Yep,
Yep.
we can see you. We can hear you. We're good.
Phenomenal. So number one, I am Derek Haynes, the crazy botanist. You can find me on Instagram at the Chocolate Botanist. And I am so happy to be here representing my hometown of New Bern, North Carolina, you know, representing for Earth Day, as it were. I am a whole botanist. So I just figured, you know, let's just do something that we could do to not only help the earth as far as lower carbon emissions, but help ourselves on the inside. So I have a beautiful bee balm here that I have been growing. I started it last year on a whim, see, and wouldn't you know it, it came back for me. It didn't go to grow with Jesus. So I'm gonna go repot this. And then if y'all have any questions, you want to chit chat while I'm doing this and I'm showing off, we can do that. We can have a conversation in a repot.
I love it. This is great. Your bee balm looks terrific. That's one of those plants that I love to grow. It's a wonderful plant. It's beautiful flowers too.
It is a wonderful plant. The flowers are gorgeous. I don't know, have either of you two ever had bee balm tea?
Yes, absolutely.
It is phenomenal, especially while we're going through this here panoramic. I hate the word pandemic. As we're going, you know, I just like, oh, you can treat yourself with like a spa day, some aromatherapy, a good thing of tea with this simple bee balm. So just as a precursor, so again, we can get to the conversation. I have some soil here that I mixed up and I'm dropping everywhere. It's a little bit of Coco Coir, C-O-I-R, a little bit of peat, a little bit of worm castings, which is like fancy term for worm poop, a little bit of compost, and just other random stuff I've had from soils. I'm going to put this on the bottom of my filter lined pot here. So that way I can start filling this up and repotting this baby in style. Also, you'll see me sprinkle just a little bit of a slow release fertilizer. This here is a Spoma, not sponsored by them in any way as of yet, unless y'all know somebody, but you can use any slow release that you so desire, or you could just use a regular Miracle Grow, whatever is accessible to you. So how are you ladies doing on today?
We're doing just great. It's fun to see you do this. You're encouraging me to get out there and get some more of my things planted.
Please get your hands in the dirt. Oh, this is like therapy. This is therapy. Like with especially where the world has been going to with all the chaos and drama in the world, it is so phenomenal to be able to come out here and just play in the dirt.
Oh my gosh.
That's one thing that has come out of the panoramic, as you call it, that people have been planting more gardens and doing more things in their gardens because they're at home and they're starting to think about it more, which is great, and growing more of their own food, which is super. It
is very super. We call it the plant-demic.
The plant-demic.
The plant-demic. I like that.
It has brought a lot of people back to plants. So I couldn't see that comment because my eyes aren't that good.
Anna Alvey says, Derek, I got to read this. This is too cute. She says, Derek, you are so right. Dirt makes me happy. I love that.
It makes me very happy because, again, I'm playing in the dirt. I'm getting a little dirty. Yes, I'm 30 years old, but I can wash this dirt off, right? This is where we lose joy and peace. That's
right. Humans are washable.
Yeah, and Derek, if you don't know, Derek lives in Durham, but he's, you know, he had said before he's in New Bern, and you gotta check out his videos. Oh my gosh, you are just a joy to talk to, and you're really, he's very intelligent. You're really a botanist, and I don't know if I've ever met a botanist until you. So yeah, cool stuff.
Yeah, so what got you started in botany?
So I grew up in actually parts of Vanceboro and
Uh-huh.
Beach Grove and Colonial Trailer Park. And in those areas, especially in the 90s where everything was in a little off color, because you know the 90s was just the best vibe, I planted those plants. So the cane grasses and the honeysuckles and the different violets that grow wild, the different dandelions that grow wild. There was so many different plants that I would see, or even ornamental plants that were left in areas that caused me a little freer, like the devil's walking stick. It's a crazy looking plant that's just all sharp and pointy and looks evil. And I just knew that I would have to get involved with these plants. And I ended up going to school for it, graduated from NC State with my bachelor's. And I ended up through a series of events being like, you know what, let me be a scientific communicator. Let me show the people what for. Let me show them that science is cool, and for young Black children to be able to see science like themselves, not be traditional as we would have science to believe to be.
Super. Look at that. It's gorgeous.
Wow. Now I know how to replant a plant.
That's right. Do a nice mix. Tell us that mix again you used. It was a combination of things.
This is a lot of different things. So Coco Coir, I actually left one out. So Coco Coir is ground up coconut shells. It is a more environmentally friendly thing to use than our typical peat moss that goes through these peat bogs and rip it up. And it's terrible to mess up the environment. Let's just leave things where they are, right? So coconuts are something that we use a lot of. Again, it's a renewable resource. It's phenomenal. And I had peat that I had from previous mixes that is mixed in here. The peat would have had vermiculite in here, or perlite, which are little white rocks. You probably can't see them, but the little white bits you see in some of these potting mixes. I had a little bit of compost and vermicompost, which again is just some good things to beef up my soil a little bit. I always add a smidgen of playground sand, because when you're working with coir or peat and they dry up, they can just shrink and become very difficult to ever unshrink again if you just let them dry up too much. So a little bit of sand helps with that. And that's it. And again, I added a little bit of this biotone, which is a slow release fertilizer with mycorrhizal. Mycorrhizal meaning a fungus help, like a hype man, to help these plants do what they have to do.
That's great. And
Very
water.
cool.
Even though
Yes.
that Doug probably says vinegar, it's water.
It is water. I upcycle different containers sometimes, and today was an upcycling day.
Yeah, there was 2 R's that were left out when Bobbi was talking about the 3 R's was the rethink and reuse,
Yeah, reduce,
So-
reuse, recycle. So I try to reduce whatever trash I can. I try to reuse anything I can multiple times. And then I aim to recycle. It doesn't always happen, but it's a hope that I have.
Well, it's awesome. Yay.
Oh, that's
Okay,
super.
you were talking about peat and adding sand. I have Venus flytrap that is just, I can't believe it came back. Like, I was scared when it started getting cold last year, and I'm like, should I bring it in? And they say don't bring it in because it's not native to this area. So I left it outside and it grew back, but it's all it is peat moss surrounded. Should I add sand to that or just leave it alone?
So what you could do is you could take like a chopstick or a pencil, a pen, and just poke little holes. Not a lot of them, but just poke little holes and sprinkle a little sand in. If you do like I just did here, where you repot it. Some people, like with this plant here, my grandmother doesn't know she gave me this yet.
Hold on one sec.
Gave this to me yet, but I can knock the soil off. And I have a container here. I can knock some of the soil off to expose more of these roots, more of these phenomenal roots.
Wow.
An iris?
Pot it. I can then repot it to say, hey, this is what's going to work for me in this new mix that I'm putting here for it. So you can definitely do either things, or if it's not really bothering you that it's in that peat mix, if you haven't had it super dry out, just leave it be.
All right, cool. Well,
Great.
that's a cool plant.
Yes,
Well,
I
Derek,
believe
give us your website again, please, so that we
So,
know how people can get a hold of you.
my Instagram is The Chocolate Botanist, all one word. If you look up thecrazybotanist.com, it'll lead you to my Facebook. That website is under construction currently as well. But I am on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, not on MySpace or Twitter. And if you send a smoke signal at the right time of day, I can catch it and I'll be there.
I love it.
And you just, I recommend people, where was that, on YouTube when you did with the Carolina Wren eggs on your back porch?
Instagram.
What's that?
That was Instagram.
Instagram. Oh my gosh. You want to give us, we've got about 2 minutes. Do you want to tell a little story, or do you have something else you want to add?
I can talk and work now. I can do it all. So wonderful patio, right? And the thing about my patio is last year, I ended up getting what I call a birdie baby mama. So I ended up getting a dove, a morning dove, and she took a liking to my patio, and I didn't appreciate that at all. So I ended up letting her have one set of eggs and dealing with that. And God bless it, I ended up fighting with her for over a week for when she came back to lay her second batch of eggs. So ended up letting those go and she flew away. And I thought I would never see another bird again. But lo and behold, you all, I go to my patio and I end up noticing this singing every morning, all the time, like I live in a Disney movie, singing every day. And I couldn't figure out where the Carolina Wren was until I had already noticed as it flew away, it has 6 eggs in this trash can I keep soil in. And I'm so frustrated because I'm like, this just means, again, I'm going to be put off of my own property with this thing looking at me in bloody murder. So my birdie baby mama is what I call her. I talk to her every morning, telling her she needs to leave and let me see the kids. But she just doesn't, she's not a good listener. She just stares real nasty. That's what she does. But she's not as nice as this here is. Again, this is a spider wart, if I am remembering my genus right. And these are phenomenal. Either spider wart or it can't be a spider lily because that's like Horus. That's a different one. But
well,
yeah.
Barbara says that it looks like a native spider wart. Spider web. She said that we were talking about. She said it looks like a native. So I think you're doing fine.
Yes. So that's it. If y'all want me to keep talking, I can go all day, but I think I get all my time.
Well, I could listen to you all day. You were just an amazing man. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope after this I'll be able to meet you in person. I'll wear a mask. I just I just want to reach out and wave. So, but yeah, Derek, thank you so much for joining us. And
thanks, Derek.
Yeah, and we'll be in touch. But we're gonna bring on Kathy
Weston Morrison first, because she's gonna take over for me.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Derek. Have a great day,
Derek.
And we'll see.
Take care.
Hopefully, we'll see you this afternoon. So
we'll check you out on Instagram and everywhere else, even smoke signals. I love that.
Yeah. All right.
Let's
see.
Super. And
let's
see, where's Kathy? She's waiting there. Yep, she's sitting there in the waiting room. This is great. What a collection of people you've assembled. Hey,
wow, this is
there's
fantastic.
Gorgeous Kathy.
Where is she?
You can unmute Kathy and then put your camera on. Oops, you muted her again.
Jean's got to go.
There we go.
Jean's got to go.
There we are.
Yay!
Oh, there she is out in the
background.
Hey!
She's out at the Battlefield Park, I bet you. So.
Yep, that is. I'm out in the for Earth Day.
Nice,
awesome.
Nice. Well, happy Earth Day. I have to run.
Happy
and so, Kathy, you're taking over, and well, you're kind of guiding with Wendy. So good luck.
She's my brain.
Yeah, you've had a real interesting group so far, and you've got a bunch more coming.
Well, hold the
Absolutely.
horses because we've got the Green Burial Project coming up next.
Okay.
Oh,
Jane,
neat.
thank you so much for
Bye-bye, Jane.
My
moderating.
pleasure. Thanks so much. I'll see you later, guys.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great day. See you later.
Okay.
Kathy, it's wonderful seeing you.
Well,
I
it's good to be
thank
here.
you so much for being the co-host. So
Oh, well, I'm
and-
just hanging out, waiting for Ann to come. We have Ann Weston coming up.
yes, I just wanted to let our listeners know. Laura says, thank you, Derek. See you, Jane, and hi, Kathy. And
Hi, Laura.
yes, and if you have a comment, suggestions, questions, please comment in this live stream on Facebook, and we will do our best to answer those. So right now we're bringing in Anne.
Okay. She is the founder of the Green Burial Project. And she's going to have to tell me about that because that's something I'm not familiar with.
Oh, it's really interesting stuff. So
All right. Educating the public about the benefits of green or natural burial.
there you
There you
go.
go. There's Ann.
Hi, Anne. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're very welcome. I would happily cede my time to Derek if he had time to come back because I was fascinated the whole time. He was just outstanding. But I am going to talk to you a little bit about green burial, and I've got a PowerPoint presentation that I'd like to set up, and I've got it here. Can you share? Can we share a screen? Let's see, share screen. Here we go.
All right. I got scared there for a second. And Anne's in
There we go.
Hillsborough. So
Yes, Hillsborough. Let's turn this on from the beginning. There we go. Can you see that?
yeah, perfect. Yes.
All right. And for those of you listening, I have sent these slides to Wendy and have given her permission to distribute them to people who attend so that you do not have to spend any time at all making notes on this because it's very data rich. And I'd rather we were paying more attention in real time and not taking so many notes. The first thing I want to tell you is that there's very little to know about green burial. I'm going to talk for a long time, and I could talk for an hour and a half, but the three things you need to know about green burial are this: no embalming, no vault, and you use a biodegradable coffin or shroud. Now, why would we make these distinctions? Well, for a number of reasons. One is that green burial is much less costly than our standard conventional burials in the US. Green burials are often much more intimate because they take place in a natural area with the family invited to take part in the work and in the ceremony. But for our purposes today on Earth Day, the best parts about green burial for Earth Day are that green burial conserves natural resources, protects workers' health, reduces carbon emission, and protects our habitat. So this is how we currently dispose of our dead in the US. The last year for which there was data from the National Vital Records Department, we had 2.8 million deaths registered in the US. Of those deaths, 37% of those people were buried, 56% essentially were cremated. The numbers continue to move very rapidly with burials losing ground, so to speak, and cremations just burning things up. And so, but these are regional numbers. There are regional variations. For instance, a funeral home in Raleigh currently does 80% cremations and 20% burials, and the ones in Butner and Creedmoor do just the opposite, with 80% burials and 20% cremations.
Wow.
Yep. Just depends on where you are. So what are the environmental costs? Well, formaldehyde is one of the worst. We're pouring approximately 750,000 gallons of a known carcinogen into the ground as formaldehyde and formaldehyde solutions annually. And why is this a problem other than it being a known carcinogen? It gets into the groundwater. It actually embalmers and morticians of all job types have a much higher rate of leukemia and brain cancer. We're burying an awful lot of bronze and copper, a lot of steel in our coffins. We're burying an awful lot of non-sustainable hardwoods, concrete in terms of vaults, and cremation fuel. I used to think that cremation was the environmentally way to go, but in fact, it takes about 28 gallons of natural gas to combust an average sized body. Interestingly enough, it takes a little less to cremate a fat body because the fat body brings its own fuel, which I also found kind of an interesting thing. So what I want to tell you is how you can reduce these environmental costs. You skip embalming. It's not required by North Carolina law. If anybody tells you that it is, they are telling you an untruth. It may be an environmental, it may be a funeral home's requirement. It may be a church's requirement. It may be anybody's requirement, but it's not required by law. And you do not have to accept it. And if a funeral director tells you that the only way you can have a viewing is to have the body embalmed, find yourself another funeral director, because that person has either told you a lie or they have told you about a system, a process, a rule of their funeral home. And if you don't want it, don't do it. One of the important reasons that I do this kind of work, and I share these kinds of little pieces of information, is that you have choices in all of this. But if you don't know you have choices, then you don't have any choices.
Yep, that's so true.
Okay, so here we are. These are your choices. You can choose a low impact coffin. Unfinished wood, willow, felt, cardboard. A fellow in Hillsborough is a coffinier, and he builds them out of southern yellow pine that he sources from Chatham County, which is the next county over from us. You can have them made out of bamboo. They are all over the internet, and the funeral rule of 1984 permits you to buy your own coffin and to have it delivered to a funeral home of your choice. And the funeral home must accept it, and they must not charge you extra. They cannot charge you a handling fee for bringing in your own coffin. You can choose a shroud. Well, what's a shroud? Well, essentially a shroud is any fabric that you happen to, or non-fabric, some organic thing that you wrap a body in to bury the body. You are not required in North Carolina to have a coffin. You can be buried in an old quilt, in a cotton sheet, in a sari or a piece of beautiful fabric that you've brought back from a world trip. You can be buried in your birthday suit. There is nothing in the North Carolina statute that insists that you have a box. You're going to have to select a cemetery that doesn't require a vault or a grave liner. The vault and grave liner are for the sole benefit of the cemeterian. Get a grip on this, because this is, in many cases, one of the more expensive elements of a funeral is the vault. So what does the vault do? The vault keeps the ground over the grave from settling, creating a divot, and making it difficult for the cemeterian to mow the grass. You perhaps have been walking through old historic cemeteries that have divots in them. Those divots should have been backfilled when the ground settled or the box collapsed underneath it. But that's the reason cemeterians require vaults. It's not for your benefit. It's not for the benefit of the deceased. It's not for the benefit of the church. It is for the benefit of the guy who mows the grass. And these things cost between $1,000 and $4,000. So you are being asked to buy a box into which the body is placed and another box to put the box with body in. You don't have to buy either of those. In this state, you don't have to buy either of those. And if you go for cremation, choose a crematory that uses pollutant filters and scrubbers. And how will you know that? You will ask them. You're going to make your planning in advance. This is not something that you do for somebody else on the worst day of your life. You have this arranged ahead of time. You cannot do comparison shopping on the worst day of your life. Plan ahead. So what's a green burial cost? These are costs from North Carolina green burial grounds. They are all over the map here. I want to point out though that, for instance, the plot price of $4,500 is for a conservation burial ground in Mills River, North Carolina. And they bundle the opening and closing of the grave and the perpetual care into that number. So again, when you're out shopping for burial plots, coffins, opening and closing the grave, get all the prices and add them up to a total so you know what your buy-in is going to be. These are the burial grounds that I know about in North Carolina that are green burial grounds, places where you can be buried without a vault, without a coffin, and with no embalming. Some of them are hybrids, which means that included in that burial ground are burials and graves that are not green. So in historic Oakwood, which is a 200-year-old cemetery, there is a segregated place called Mordecai's Meadow. That's a green burial ground. But it is separated by a driveway from conventional burials with embalming and vaults and expensive caskets. So that's a hybrid. A natural burial ground, like at Pine Forest in Wake Forest, is a property that's set aside by deed to accommodate only green burials. There will be no conventional burials in that cemetery. And the 1, 2, 3 more down, Carolina Memorial Sanctuary, is the only conservation burial ground in North Carolina. This is a small piece of property, about 11 acres, that has been set aside in a conservation easement. And that property, as long as conservation easements last, and we are, I think we are mistakenly led to believe that in perpetuity is longer than like 100 years, but in fact, laws change, and I don't know how long a conservation burial ground will last, but by deed, nothing can be buried in that ground, and the property cannot be used for any other purpose by deed. Some of these are very tiny. The sanctuary of the borough is about, in Moncure, is about 1.5 acres. The old Carrboro Cemetery is a cemetery that was started green. And over time, people started burying in vaults and embalming their loved ones. The town codified that. About 3 years ago, the town decided to try a pilot of green burial in that cemetery. So they have converted it to a hybrid so that you can now be buried in a municipal cemetery in Carrboro for the same price that you would be buried with a coffin and buying a vault. But you can be buried there green now in a way that you couldn't 3 years ago. And let's see, St. Barnabas Church just had their third burial this week on a little piece of property that they couldn't build on. It's 2 acres. It's down a very steep hill. At the bottom, there's a creek, and there's a little strip of land on the other side of the creek and a road that goes up to a residential district. A gas company wanted to put a gas station on that little strip of land on the other side of the creek that the church owns. And because the church couldn't build on it, the diocese asked the church why they didn't just consider selling that little piece of property to put a gas station along the creek. Well, St. Barnabas has a strong ministry for hospitality and for the environment. And they realized that one way that they could save that property from being used as a gas station with all the groundwater and stream water problems inherent in gas stations and organizations that deal in petroleum products, that they could save that property and do a good deed, not only for their congregation, but for all of the region by having a natural burial ground in that space. And so that's what they did. And they have now had their third burial, and that little tiny piece of property will be saved in perpetuity. And again, that's a legal term, and I think that it's sort of wiggly. So what are your next steps? Here they are. Decide what you want, write it down, and discuss it with your family. These are some resources. As I said before, Wendy's got the PowerPoint slides and can distribute this as she chooses. And this last slide is of a burial that I facilitated in downtown Raleigh on Tryon Road. If you're familiar with Tryon Road, it is a very busy road. But this man wanted to be buried on his family's property. They owned 100 acres of farmland, and Raleigh grew up around them. And he did not want his family's historic farmland to be divided up for condos or apartments upon his death. So we arranged for him to be buried in his own backyard by his friends in a bamboo coffin. Those are silk fabric straps that he and his husband brought home from India when they were traveling one time. And it was one of the most beautiful and humbling days of my life to be involved with that. Those are my digits, and I am happy to talk to anybody, anytime, anywhere about green burial. And that's all I got to say for right now.
All right.
Wow.
Well,
That's
that's
all.
a lot to take in, and we're sure glad that you came to share with us. Gosh.
Wow, that was a lot of great information. And, you know, there's so many takeaways, but the last slide you showed, a lot of people don't even know that you can be buried on your own property if you have enough property in North Carolina. So there's so much to learn.
Well, there were 100 people at that funeral that day, and most of them had never seen a body lowered into a grave. All the funerals they had been to, they had left the cemetery with the body, the coffin resting on the lowering device, a backhoe in the background, and cemetery workers waiting to lower the body into the ground. But on that occasion, we did the lowering, and we did the earth moving with shovels and tears.
Wow, how moving. Oh, Anne, I just, this is my first time meeting you, but I feel like we've known each other for a while. So, but I
Yep.
can't thank you enough for joining us. And I hate
You're
to
very
cut
welcome.
it short. I'd love to keep talking, but we have other.
We will another time.
Yes, we will. And I will share that PowerPoint on New Bern Now's website, and I'll provide a link. So Thank you so much for your time and happy Earth Day.
You're welcome.
Yay.
Thank you very much. And to you.
Right.
Yay. Woo.
Right.
That was
Gosh.
terrific. Wow.
I'm glad she did the PowerPoint because there's so much information there. And you will
Wow.
have it for everybody to see. So that's great. All right.
Yeah.
Do we have Carol in the wings?
Yeah, I see Michael. Michael is there. I wonder if Carol's with Michael.
I don't know. Carol is the communications director for Carolina Nature Coalition. And so she's going to tell us all about that. And I bet you Michael is helping them out.
Let's see. He said he was going for a walk, but I think he ended up going to their place to.
I bet he did.
Let's see. Is it
All
still
right.
there?
Mhm. All right.
You there, Michael?
He's muted. He needs to unmute. There we go. All right.
And there's
There's Carol. Yay. All right. Welcome, Carol. Welcome.
Stand here if we can, make it larger.
All
There
right.
we go.
There you go.
Oh,
Happy Earth
much
Day.
better. Yeah. Happy Earth Day. It's
Happy
wonderful
Earth
seeing you.
Day.
Yeah.
Okay. We are
I'm
waiting
Carol.
to hear all about the Carolina Nature Coalition.
Right. So I am the volunteer communications person for the Carolina Nature Coalition. And I just wanted to say quickly that we've had an interesting year because of COVID. But the upside part about it is that it has really pushed us to create a YouTube account, a Twitter account, which we're putting random thoughts on there all the time. We just want to let people know. And that our Facebook is a lot more active because of the COVID. And I just want to make a quick statement, and that is that because of COVID and using technology more, I'm really hoping that as we sort of rediscover how COVID changed our lives and how we learned in a positive direction about how technology is going to actually maybe help the environment. Just one quick example, and maybe less airplanes in the air, more meetings on Zoom just like this. Just, I think, might be possible. Yeah, today is the 51st anniversary of Earth Day. I'm excited to be here. Glad technology is working for me. Earth Day is a really, really great day to appreciate Mother Earth and to celebrate it, but it's also a great day to learn how to be a better steward of the earth. And what I'm going to do here for you guys is I'm going to talk about something that's out there. I think it's a real problem. It's something that's called plastic wrap. And what I'm going to ask you guys to do right now is to imagine yourself in a grocery store. And I don't really want you to imagine yourself in the front of the store like you really normally are. I want you to think about the receiving area. And I want you to envision a truck backing up and making a delivery. And on the truck is a wooden pallet or a plastic pallet. And it's got a lot of boxes on it. And around that plastic pallet, to keep it all together, is something that's called plastic wrap. And in order to tie that whole thing together, they're wrapping it and wrapping it and wrapping it and wrapping it. The delivery is now coming off with the forklift. It's in the receiving area. You now have to unwrap it. And all of that plastic is just ending off in a pile off to the side. We're talking about one delivery. The supermarkets are totally aware of the amount of wrap that is landing on that floor every day, day after day. But the good news is that wrap is actually being collected and sent off somewhere, and it's actually being melted down and recycled.
Really?
Really. Stay tuned, Wendy, stay tuned. It's being melted. So now, if you would, I would appreciate it if you guys would imagine with me the front of the grocery store. And in the front of the grocery store, there's another little problem. Okay? This is a plastic bag. And what's happened is in the back of the receiving area, in those boxes was my favorite crackers, and now I'm buying some, and now I'm going out the door with this plastic bag. This plastic bag's a problem. The grocery store knows it's a problem. And what the grocery store has done is they have provided me with a recycle bin.
Hold on, wait a sec.
If you go to the grocery store, you're going to have plastic recycle bins. Okay, here's how it really looks. So I can actually bring this plastic bag back. So what are they doing with all those plastic bags? All those plastic bags are going in with all the other wrap, and they're being melted down. Sad part about this is not everybody's doing it. And the sad part is that those plastic bags, the United States of America is using 1 million a minute. 1 million plastic bags a minute. They're not biodegradable. If I had a brown paper bag, I could turn that brown paper bag in my compost into dirt in a month. But that plastic bag is not biodegradable. So the grocery store is helping us. They're putting the bins outside and they're saying, bring those plastic bags back. But now what I'm going to ask you guys to do, everybody out there, is I want you to step into the grocery store and I want you to think about up and down the aisles. And don't think about the food that you're buying. Just look at the plastic. Just look at the plastic wrap that's around everything. It's around my almonds or my pecans. That's plastic wrap, okay? It's around my blueberries, okay? Now this blueberry bag gets a little dirty on the inside. It rinse, and it's clean, okay? And I'm gonna do that because I'm gonna also tuck that back into these bins. It's on my sockeye salmon. It's on my pie shells. You guys getting the idea here? It's around my bread. On and on and on it goes. You can actually have this handy dandy little tube in your kitchen. This is a pretty little tube. And if you have this handy tube in here in your kitchen, out comes that whole blueberry, and it's nice and clean inside. Only took a minute. Okay, these are plastic bags, Ziploc bags. Okay, this is the same product. Moving along, here's pecans. You guys got the idea? Something I bought at the store. This stuff builds up very, very quickly. My tube builds up very quickly. There's only the two of us. But the big question, and even these little tiny pieces, okay? You're gonna collect it all. Bread bags, you got the idea. This tube in my kitchen is gonna fill up really, really quickly. So what's going to happen is what I have to do here is I have to teach you how to identify what this wrap is. And pretty much what wrap is going to be is it's going to be different weights. It's going to be that tissuey lightweight bag. But I'm going to zoom in here and I'm going to show you that if you just give it a stretch, whoops, that's a very fine. But if it just stretches for you, you're going to know that that's plastic wrap. And that's what's going to go into your tube. And that's what you're going to bring back to the grocery store. Okay, you're going to bring it back with your tissue bags. All that wrap goes back. What was I going to say? You want to watch out for some product that's in there that you don't want to contaminate wrap. You've got to know what wrap is. So here's my bread. This bread bag is definitely wrap. It has that stretch to it. Inside the bread bag is something called cellophane. You can hear it. Okay.
It's loud.
Cellophane is around my Easter basket. Cellophane is also on my floral when I buy it. Cellophane is also candy wrappers. Anything with that foil inside. Okay, so that's not going to go in this. We're not going to contaminate this wonderful wrap that we're going to return that builds up so quickly. It's just not going to happen. We're not going to contaminate it. So we need to know what wrap is.
That's great to know, because that's something we can each do as an individual. And
This
that's
is so huge. This is so huge. So now what happens after I fill up my tube, my handy dandy tube has been filled. It filled so quickly. I'm going to come over here. Wendy, this is your favorite part. I hope I make her laugh. This is my wild bird food. Are you ready for my wild bird food? I don't know if I'm going to be able to show this to you, but it actually has a recycle label on it. It's a number 4. And the number 4 on that is LDPE. It's a low density polyethylene. Okay. This is my wild bird food. It stretches.
Right.
It's heavier than the plastic bag, the little lightweight tissue bag. You ready, Wendy?
Yep.
This is just my husband and I. Are you getting the idea, folks?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
I think
Should I
so.
keep going?
Now, actually, we're running out.
Yeah, we're running out of time. So I decided I didn't want to cut you off.
I'm so sorry. Here's the inside.
No, you're good.
No.
I can keep going?
No,
No, let
actually,
us-
we're over time, but can you
Wrap it quicker.
there you
Yeah,
wrap it?
Tell us,
Love it.
tell us how we
Okay.
can reach you and find out more information.
Okay, great. Just want to make sure that you know that Harris Teeter will eliminate bags, okay, those tissue bags in 2025, but you can bring bags back now. They're reusable bags. These are also the wonderful vegetable bags. You want to be buying those and using those. The Carolina Nature Coalition, actually, it's carolinanaturecoalition.org. They made a presentation this Monday, and on our website, you can see this demonstration again. But you know what I really want you guys to pay attention to is the fact that there is something called the WRAP Recycling Action Program. It's WRAP. It's a national program, and it is a program that is trying to make public awareness and outreach to, it's an outreach incentive designed to make plastic film, including wraps, bags, flexible packaging, commonly recycled material. And it's going to go back to your supermarkets. And that's what we have to do.
Well,
That's
Carol, thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for
I
coming.
hate to cut you off, but that was terrific information, but it's great seeing you.
It's good to see you guys.
Yeah, and thank
All
you
right.
for joining us. Have
Happy
a great
Earth
day.
Happy Earth Day.
Happy
All right.
Earth Day, yay! See you later.
Okay,
All right.
all right.
All right.
Okay, yeah.
Do we have Katy at the ready? Katy is the
Let's
Lower Neuse
see.
River keeper with
Yeah.
Sound Rivers. And she is going
Ah.
to tell us all about, they are involved with the Tar, Pamlico, and Neuse River watersheds, which is a whole lot of this area. So she's
Where's
going to tell
Katy?
us about that.
Where's Katy?
don't
Katie's not in here. Huh,
She's not, okay.
huh. I wonder if something came up with Katy. Let me check my
See what you've
email
got
real
here.
quick. But
Do we have Dr. John Hatcher waiting as well? We'll find out.
Dr. Hatcher is in the waiting room. He wanted to close up. But I don't see Katy. So let's go to Dr. Hatcher. Let's see, when was Katy was supposed to join
Katy
at?
was supposed to be at 2:30 to 2:40.
We lost her. I don't know if she was in the waiting room. Katy, I am so sorry if we missed you. But let's bring in Dr. Hatcher.
Dr. Hatcher is with the North Carolina Forestry Association.
Yes.
That's the state's oldest forest conservation association, established in 1911. So they've been around a whole lot longer than Earth Day.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been doing this a long time.
Okay.
Hello, Dr. Hatcher. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are y'all?
Wonderful. Right. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Welcome and happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day to y'all as well.
All right. I bet the Forestry Association is rather busy.
We are extremely busy. Our members are definitely busy, and they are very happy to have some dry weather in which they can work right now and sunshine. So we've had quite the interesting year, as many others have as well. So things are very busy around here.
Now your group involves a whole bunch of different kinds of people: forestry managers, landowners, loggers, furniture people. How are they all coming together for this one point?
So we do represent the entire supply chain. Like you were saying, we really represent everyone from the nurseries that supply seedlings to plant, all the way up to the processing mills. So your sawmills, pulp and paper, you name it. If there's a finished forest product, odds are we're involved, or they are involved as one of our members. Secondary manufacturing, you mentioned cabinet making, other case goods, things of that nature, flooring. So we've got everyone under our umbrella, thankfully, and it's great. I mean, it's a really great organization. As you mentioned earlier, it's the oldest conservation organization in the state, and we really just have a wide range of programs, from our education programs on up to our advocacy work.
Is there something, a special message you have since for Earth Day?
Use
coming
paper.
From all those folks. Use paper.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really unfortunate you hear, in today's world, saving paper, saving forest, but paper is just one of the many products that come off of forest, and they give their market for trees, we call them low value trees, but it's part of the process of managing those relatively young trees, 15 to 20-year-old trees. And that gives landowners an incentive to keep their forests as forests. I mean, if without it, they may be inclined to convert it to development in some places, to not manage it intensively, which gives us helps increase the amount of carbon that's sequestered, which cleans our air, cleans our water, provides a lot of wildlife habitat. So, on Earth Day 2021, I would ask the general public to use more paper.
That's good. I mean, that goes right along with Carol, who was here saying, send that plastic back, use more paper instead.
And I reuse paper. I'm constantly using paper and then writing notes on the back. So yeah, wow. So tell us what other messages do you want? What do you want the public to know specifically?
Forest products are, a lot of people don't understand. I think there's upwards of 5,000 everyday products that in some way, shape, or form involve forestry. And, that's just something that we have a Goods from the Woods box. It's very educational. It's one of the best educational tools we've had, and we've gone through just a number of iterations over the years. And it really teaches the general public, forestry's not, it's not about clear cuts that we don't replant. It's not about, they talk about deforestation is unfortunately a buzzword we often hear. And, I would just invite them to learn more about our industry, the sustainability of it, how green it is, how it accounts for many rural jobs in economically depressed counties, good paying jobs at that. So, it's one of those industries that, I was on a call earlier today with a journalist, and, forestry is in the forest products industries in all 100 counties of North Carolina, and in some way, shape, or form. And, we are farmers with the utmost patience, and we really care about good land stewardship and sustainability.
You mentioned a teaching box that you have. Can you tell us about that?
That's something that I'm not as familiar as our Director of Education, Amy Giuliani, is. But, there's, I think, a soft drink in there. There's some other things that really highlight, and there's some info cards that kind of tell you what forest product is in each of those things. And that's something that we distribute to schools, and anyone in the general public that wants one, we'll be happy to send one their way.
How do they contact you to say, I'm teaching a third grade and I'd like to have that?
So you can contact us at 919-834-3943, and anyone in the office will be happy to help you with education materials, be it posters that we have, or goods from the woods box.
All right.
So when you had mentioned seedlings to nurseries, can the general public order seedlings? Like, how does that work? Is that a connection there with you, or is that a different organization?
It really just depends on which member. They're all a little bit different as to how they work. Some of our member company are some of the seedlings commercial nurseries that we have in our membership. Some may do direct sales to the general public. Some may go through, a replanting contractor, a consulting forester, or someone of that nature, a registered forester here in North Carolina that they work with to replant those tracts. There's also the North Carolina Forest Service has a state nursery that the general public can order seedlings from.
That's who I was thinking
and
of.
so
Okay.
yeah, they do a great job. They kind of really fill that gap from what those larger nurseries, what smaller general public needs that perhaps the commercial nurseries cannot supply, at the scale that they need to. So we pretty much have all landowners of all sizes covered when it comes to seedlings in the state.
All right.
So the North Carolina Forestry Association is an organization that a bunch of other people fall under, where if I wanted to learn about your partners, are they partners, members? If I'm making any sense.
So yeah, you could join, and we really collaborate with our members and other partners throughout the year for different programs. COVID really created opportunity for us to do things virtually that you may not be able to get all parties involved in those events together during, let's say, a normal year, right? Whatever normal is right now. And so it really helped our teachers that typically engage in our teachers experience, or a part of our teachers experience that we offer every summer. We have 3 of those across the state. And so, here over the last year, we've really kind of thought outside the box, like many other people, how to reach the general public with education, our education efforts that otherwise may be, in-person events. And so we do envision some sort of hybrid events moving forward that perhaps the general public can gain more knowledge or be easily access to what we're all about, what our industry's about, what our people do across the state.
Well, and I'm sorry, Kathy.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Is Weyerhaeuser a member of your organization?
They are.
Well, they do great work here in Eastern North Carolina. So Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're
Wanted to get
they
a plug to them.
we have many great members like them. I mean, it's, you know, that same, they really are good stewards of the land. They care about the products they produce. They care about their employees in rural communities, and are just great partners, great corporate citizens in general. And our membership all throughout, whether you're it's corporate owned or many of our great independent facilities we have across the state of North Carolina, they care about forestry just like Weyerhaeuser does. They understand its importance and the role it plays, not just in the economy, but the environment as well.
You mentioned that the association there has a number of different programs. Are there any you'd care to tell us about?
So yeah, so we've got several education programs that, like I said, our director of education programs, Amy, does just a great job with public schools or school-age children. And then, like I said, we have a sustainable forestry teachers experience. We have 3 of those across the state. We do one there in New Bern most of the time for the coast. We have one in the Piedmont and one in the mountains, and it exposes teachers all aspects of forestry, start to finish. And it just depends on where we're at in terms of what they see, what segments of the industry. And then we also do a logging training program called the Pro Logger program. One of our best known programs to the NCFA. It started because in the early 90s, there were well over a dozen deaths in the woods every year. Industry came together and said, we've got to do something about this. So that was the intent of it, was safety. It has evolved to include a lot of environmental aspects of it to make sure that what we do in the woods, we keep clean water, and you're not introducing a lot of sediment into the waterways, the river basins, etc. And also too, just being good stewards of the land, not excess, minimize rutting if at all, just keeping that land better than you found it. And that's been, like I said, just a very popular program, something that we have many partners, state agencies. The North Carolina Forest Service collaborates with us on that. And then, our advocacy work, we want to make sure that we have a good property rights structure in the state, sensible regulations that are protective of the general public, but allow us to continue to do what we do as an industry. And just any aspect that kind of falls under that supply chain, if there's an issue, workforce development right now is a big one. A lot of our members work with their community colleges on that. So we are really forestry from the roots up, the stuff that people don't generally see that keeps the industry grounded, all the way up to what people think of forestry when it's the growing and harvesting of trees for everyday products.
All right, you cover it from
Wonderful.
top to bottom.
Yeah, well, are you involved with controlled burns, or is that specifically the Forestry Service?
So we do have members that conduct prescribed burns. The Forestry Association does not directly, we don't have staff that is out in the field doing work. That's a lot of our members are for sure, but we don't do that directly here. So if somebody's looking for prescribed burning services or something else, they're happy to call us and we'll give them a list of members that can help them out.
So you'll connect them to whoever they need to get to be connected with.
Yes, ma'am.
You're that
Umbrella.
Yeah, umbrella that holds everyone together. So I really appreciate you joining us today. Yeah.
Can I ask, and you might have said it and I just didn't connect. You mentioned the education programs for the teachers, a special teacher training. Are you able to do that now with the pandemic, or is that something you're doing virtually online, or are you planning to still have the gatherings of people?
So we are in very limited capacity this year. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head for this year, but where we may have, like I said, over 100 in over 3 experiences, if you will. you know, we're probably looking at 50 tops among all three, you know, collectively. So we're taking all the necessary precautions to make sure folks feel comfortable, but at the same time, you know, sort of get back into a normal rhythm of having these in-person gatherings that people can really see it, you know, boots on the ground, not just learn about it online.
Yeah, see it and touch it and hear it.
So we can touch it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Wow. Well, Dr. Hatcher, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
you're thinking
ma'am.
trees. You're
Been
thinking
three, I'm sorry, it's been 3 hours, but it's been great information. So please, you know, don't take anything bad by that, but thank
Not
you
at
so
all.
much. It's been a pleasure. And I'm so glad that you guys, y'all participated in this. So,
Well, thank y'all for having us. And if y'all need anything else, if y'all would like to put our contact information up for anyone to ask us further questions or obtain more information, we're happy to take those requests.
okay. And actually it was published on our website before, but we're going to make sure it's in the live stream and just push it out because, you know, you were taking care of our community, you know, our environment, and thank you. So
Yes, ma'am.
yeah. All right. You have a great day.
all right.
Y'all
And
too.
Happy
Take
Earth
care.
Day.
Yep.
Happy
Happy
day,
Earth.
y'all.
Bye bye.
All right.
All right. Whew.
Okay. All right.
Wow.
Did we
That
get Katy by any chance?
Katie's
Okay.
gone. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can just
Yeah.
talk Earth Day here. Now you have teamed up with earthday.org, right? Is that the group that's helping out with all
Yeah. Earthday.org.
Mhm.
Where did I put the paper? There's paper everywhere.
and all the boards did drink?
Man,
Okay.
I learned so much today. Wow.
I know. Here you go, earthday.org. And you're on their website. Your New Bern now with all of this that's going on is on their map. And their theme this year is Restore Our Earth. Well, you've sure hit that with all your discussion today. My gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. There was a lot of information, and I just wanted to remind people, there's tons of information on the earthday.org.
Right. Here's a note from Katy. Did you see that? She had
No.
to restart her computer. So-
Yay! Do
all
you want to
right.
bring her in?
Yeah.
You ready?
Bring her in. Yeah. There we go. Okay.
So Katie's gonna be the one.
Yeah. Katy is the river keeper. There she is right there. Yay.
Hey, I'm so sorry. I went to go
No.
click the link and Zoom was having its, you know, you've got to update me right now, of
Oh,
course.
geez. Yeah.
It's
Now,
fine
now,
earlier.
now.
You know, before this, I had to restart my camera, like update the camera, and I'm like, okay, is anything else going to go wrong today? But I think it's Mother Earth saying, poking at us, saying, "Hey, wake up, folks! Come on!"
Get off the computer and go outside, except
There
it's
you
cold
go.
again. So I'm going to stay inside today.
Well, tell us about Sound Rivers and all the work you're doing.
Well, I'd love to. So for those who don't know, Sound Rivers is an environmental nonprofit. We have 3 river keepers for the 2 river basins, the Neuse River and the Tar Pamlico. And I actually share the Neuse with Matthew Starr. He's got the upper portion, he's based in Raleigh, and I'm from about Kinston all the way out to the Sound, based here in New Bern. And as a river keeper, first of all, Sound Rivers, our main goal is clean, fishable, swimmable, drinkable water for all. And the way we work towards that goal is through the river keepers, who wear many different hats. On any given day, I'm a scientist, an educator, advocate, all of the above, and so much more. Earlier this week, let's see, Monday, I was out on my boat working with NC State on a plastics project. So I was working with researchers there, helping to trawl, looking for microplastics in our waterways, including the Trent River and other tributaries of the Neuse around like Port Barnwell, Pollocksville, etc. Tuesday, I was out sampling, collecting water samples in Jones and Lenore counties from the creeks and streams out there that run through all of the big industrial animal agriculture, to keep an eye on the health of those smaller tributaries and see the amount of bacteria and nutrients that are polluting our waterways. Because nutrient pollution is like the #1 issue and threat to the Neuse, which I know sounds strange because nutrients, they're good. But you know the saying, too much of a good thing is a bad thing.
Yeah.
And the Neuse unfortunately has too many nutrients. So keeping an eye on what's going out there, what's entering our waterways there. Yesterday morning, I had the privilege of partnering with the local publics here in New Bern, because they're all about, you know, public serves and giving back to the community. And so I worked with several of the associates there for a cleanup that we did in Lawson Park. There was, I think, about 6 participants, you know, one to keep it small because COVID. And between the 6 of them, within about 2 hours, they had collected around 140 pounds of trash just from walking around Lawson Park.
Man.
6 people. Wow.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, each trash bag is probably around 15 to 20 pounds on average. And so they had 7 or 8 bags of trash in that short amount of time. So I got to do a little bit of everything of my job just in the past couple of days. And so that's kind of the easiest overview of some of the work that we do.
How did you come to your job?
I like to say it was fate. I'm originally from New Orleans and I love my seafood. And so as I started getting more into my environmental studies and sciences classes, I started learning about the Gulf Coast dead zone, which was threatening my seafood. Can't have that. And the cause of that being eutrophication or nutrient pollution from, again, those big industrial animal operations out in Iowa and all throughout the Midwest, draining into the Mississippi, pouring out into the Gulf. And so I realized that this was kind of my passion. I didn't know the job title, but I know that I wanted to study animal poop in the water. And through all of my just personal research, the Neuse River kept coming up as another problem site, as a potential future dead zone. And so my husband got a job here in New Bern. He's the pharmacist at the Publix. Actually, go in and say hi. And so we ended up moving here to a town I had never heard of. And so the first time we came to visit, we drove over the Neuse and I was like, man, this is a beautiful river with a cute little town there. Wait, does that say Neuse River? I know this river. So I knew all about the river and its problems long before I'd ever heard of a town called New Bern or a job title called Riverkeeper. It was after meeting another riverkeeper in Columbia, South Carolina, that I was like, that is the job for me. It's got everything I love. It's got the science, it's got the advocacy, and it's got the education, because the public education outreach is one of my favorite parts of the job. So things like this, talking to groups, organizations, schools, everything, just to share not only the work that we're doing and the problems with our, rivers right now, but all the things that people can do to help be a part of the solution for that.
Yes. Yeah. And, when you were saying how, the Neuse is pretty famous, especially, I can't remember, I think it was 2012, Larry Baldwin, he was the Neuse Riverkeeper then, and Alexandra Cousteau came, and that's Jacques Cousteau's daughter. It's like, holy cow, this is so cool. And we went out on a boat, a vessel with her. And it was really interesting. And they were doing some kind of documentary and I can't find it. I think it was called Blue Planet or something. So I really need to, you just sparked that, the memory. But yeah, what you do on a daily basis is just it's hard work. I mean, in the hot and the cold but people just, I don't think they realize the how in depth your job is, and I know I appreciate it, and I'm sure Kathy does, and our
Sure.
listeners. Oh, we
You,
have,
I often
every
liken
day?
it. Oh, go ahead, Kathy. I'm
I
sorry.
said you work on Earth Day every day.
I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah.
all environmentalist. Every day is Earth Day. But I do love that we all take a special time every year to really remember and focus on that. But yeah, I often liken my job to Sisyphus, kind of rolling that rock up the hill, working really, really hard, and at the last minute breaks free. So some days it's really tough and really disheartening, but it's worth it every single day. I love our river. I love the creeks to paddle in, the river to boat in. I love just walking along the river downtown. It's beautiful, and it's a resource 100% worth fighting for every day. And I know I'm not alone in that. We have hundreds and thousands of members who agree with us on that 100%. And it's really great. And you're talking about being, our river being kind of famous. Well, unfortunately, it's a double-edged sword. Like on one hand, yes, it's known about, but it's kind of famous for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
In 2007 and 2017, the Neuse was voted in the top 10 most endangered rivers in the United States.
Wow. Yeah.
And a lot of times I tell people that and they say, well, where were we on the list? And I just say, once you're in the top 10, it doesn't really matter where you are. It's not good to be there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and thanks for saying that, because that I wasn't celebrating that we were famous. It was just a famous person came here because of the news, and obviously there was a reason for that. She wanted to shed light on what was going on. So,
but again, that is kind of a good thing. That's why I say it's a double-edged sword, because like they say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So like it's known that we have a problem, and if you know that there's a problem, you can do something about it. And everyone can do something to help our rivers and our environment. From the cleanups, if you want to organize your own, send me an email. I'd love to help you get supplies and organized for that. We also always have a need for sampling volunteers. Actually, next month, we are starting our 4th summer of our swim guide program. And that is from Memorial Day to Labor Day weekends. We have volunteers collect water samples every week at popular recreation sites throughout both the Upper Neuse, Lower Neuse, and Tarpamlico basins, so that every Friday afternoon, we can provide results to the public about E. coli bacteria, because E. coli is an indicator of whether an area is potentially harmful to human health. So we can let you know, or we do let you know every Friday throughout the summer where it is or is not safe to recreate. And it's not just swimming, it's kayaking, it's boating, it's fishing, it's any kind of contact you might have with the water. If there's high bacteria, you're putting yourself and your family at risk.
Tell
So
folks your email and your contact information in case they want to volunteer and help with that.
Absolutely. So the easiest one, you can always email just info@soundrivers.org, and whoever you are, wherever you are, that email will get sent to, whether it's me, Matthew in Raleigh, or Jill in Washington with the TARPAM. You can also email me directly. It's Lower Neuse, all one word, Lower Neuse RK@soundrivers.org. But info is definitely easiest to remember. And then also one thing I really want to mention is this month in April is also our April match. So all donations that are made during the month of April are actually doubled. So, if you've only got $5 to give, that's great, because your $5 is actually going to be $10. And I believe we've calculated it down to $5 actually does pay for one swim guide sample throughout the summer.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, if you want to donate just $5, we are happy to have it, because again, during April, it's actually 10. So that's 2 samples.
All right.
Well, that's awesome. And Katy, I do have to ask you, I love fishing and I hardly ever, I'm a catch and release and I probably shouldn't because there's controversy about that. But anyway, can I eat the fish out of the noose? Like, I don't think I've ever have because I didn't know. What is the verdict?
For the most part, I don't believe there are any active fish consumption advisories in our stretch of the noose. Of course, it's more of your ocean fish that are going to have the higher concentrations of things like mercury, et cetera. So you can definitely check with the Division of Marine Fisheries. Will have all of the latest and greatest info on that. And also, as my rule of thumb, if it looks sick or has sores or just doesn't look pristine, I wouldn't eat it. But I'm also a huge seafood person, like I said. So,
and the crabs are consumable. You're not gonna. I mean, I know within reason, but
So the detritivores, like crabs and other bottom feeders like that, they can bioaccumulate or bioconcentrate harmful pollutants like heavy metals or plastics or hydrocarbons or something. But unless you're eating, 10 pounds of crabs every single day, I think you're going to be okay. But that is kind of related to one of the other projects that myself and all of the river keepers across the entire state of North Carolina, we've joined together to do a microplastics study. So we are actually sampling in 2 sites on a urban stream or creek. And so actually I'm doing Lawson Creek before it flows into the park. And so we sample there every other month. And we send those samples to Plastic Ocean Project in Wilmington, who then analyze it for microplastics. And the goal of this project is, one, to get a better understanding of how big is our plastic problem, because we see the litter here, but that's our macroplastics. It's the small stuff that you can't really see. And so get a better understanding of what does our plastic problem look like here, but also being able to educate the public about this issue. Because again, it's so small, it's out of sight, out of mind. You don't look at the creek and think, I wonder how much plastic's in there. And so next year, we'll also be installing what's called a litter getter or a trash bandit. So it's this neat little device that goes across the creek and collects all the trash and floating debris. So we'll also need volunteers to help clean that guy out.
Wow, that's cool. So lots of volunteer opportunities. And one last thing, alligators. How often are they out there? Like, I'm terrified to bring my dog down to, I'm going to make a long story short. I went down to Glenbury Park one summer and recently, and the NC wildlife guy says, hey, there's an alligator right off and you probably shouldn't let your dog out here. Are they like all over the place, or just one or two, or just a handful?
So
not like Louisiana.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say because we're more focused on the water itself as opposed to the critters in there. So it's only my own personal experience with them. And I've mostly only experienced them in Bryce's Creek when I'll go paddling there, or that little, section of Bryce's Creek where they have the Aquapalooza. I've seen one, or I haven't seen one there, but somebody was boating by and was like, hey, there's a gator right over there, so you might want to get out of the water for a little bit. I've seen them also, like I said, in Bryce's Creek. I know some will hang out in the noose around some of those islands right there, just upstream of town. But for the most part, I don't think, we're not overrun with alligators. And, especially if you're in like a kayak or a boat, like just give them space, and more likely you're more likely bigger than them, or they're just going to realize in the fight or flight, you're not worth it.
And I'm speaking to an expert on alligators because you came from Louisiana, right?
I'm an expert on how to fry them.
I bet you could wrestle one easily.
All right.
Well, you know, you can hold their jaws closed. So yeah, they're, you know, just like apex predators, they're only going to pick a fight that they know they can win. And so I would just, with, you know, dogs and children, just keep a very close eye on them, and just if they're right there by the water, be with them and keep an eye on the surroundings. Just be aware is the best I got.
Kind of like in the woods with the bear. Be aware.
Yep.
Yeah.
Be aware,
around
be
Earth.
big, make noise, let them know that you're there, and more likely they're gonna get away from you.
There you go. Alligators have been around Earth for a long time.
Yeah.
So we're celebrating Earth Day. It's their Earth too.
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's what we all have in common. You have everyone. So it's we have one last comment here, if I can read it. Every speaker kept me interested on all topics during this special Earth Day program. Thanks, Jane, Kathy, and Wendy, and Katy. This is fun. I love learning about all this great stuff, and thank you, Katy, for everything.
I'm glad I could still join in to help close it out, because sorry about
Katy Langley Hunt, the Lower Neuse River Keeper. It's a great way to finish it up.
Yeah, and visit soundrivers.org, right? Okay. Well, thank you.
Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day. Woohoo! Okay, let's close it out. You ready? Thank you, Kathy.
All right.
Kathy and Morrison. She's especially famous for the New Bern Historical Society, and she's a member of the Podsquad.
I'm glad to be.
Thank you, guys, and y'all have a happy Earth Day and have a great day.
Okay.
All right. Let's end.
All right. This video and audio is going to be uploaded to newbernnow.com and YouTube, so it'll be there when you're ready. And we'll be back next Thursday, the 29th, from 1 to 2.
Yeah. So join us then, and thank you, and have a great day, everyone. Woohoo! Bye-bye.
Here we are.